talking through all this.
Greetings, Rob and chat. I have something to admit. I have been hosting both King Charles and Kate Middleton for a couple weeks at my condo. Sorry to cause international confusion and dismay. They're doing just fine.
Two, hello. Oh, check two. Kijiji, thanks so much for the 39 months tier 1. Thank you for all the support. Over the 39 months that you've been a subscriber over here.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
34.
Thank you, Kijiji, for that. Happy to know that
you can count on me. You're
King Charles and Kate Middleton both okay in the company of Kijiji Genie. Oh, Metal Dipshit. Thanks for the 34 months. Tier 2. I appreciate you, Metal Dipshit. They're really getting up there, the numbers. It's pretty amazing. Diego, thanks so much for the 39 months of Prime. Diego, I really, really appreciate all the support over the 39 months that we've been together. Thank you, Diego. Oh, chin chin. Oh. It is a lot of months. It's crazy to me that it's getting up there like this. I gotta say something here too. There's this little it's kind of like a fancy grocery place nearby. I don't want to give names of like locations near where I live because it's like doxing where I live. Maybe if some of you could figure it out, if you were that intrepid, you might be able to figure this shit out. But there's kind of a fancy grocery store that I had never really gone to. It's more of like a butcher, like a meat or fish place, but they've got a few other groceries. But apparently they do sandwiches as well. It's not like a Kroger because it's small. It's like a small little place. It's more like a deli. It's kind of like a deli. They've got a few little grocery items. Excuse me. But I never really went there until recently. I went over there and just got a piece of salmon the other day that I made for dinner. It was very good. And I realized they make sandwiches as well. And so not only do they make sandwiches, but yesterday they were, because it was St. Patrick's Day, they were doing this like Irish stew kind of thing. Not stew like left hand stew. They were doing this like St. Patrick's Day Irish stew. I went over there for lunch yesterday to get that, amazing. It was so good. It was so good. Really hearty, really enjoyable lunch. And then today, needed to grab something before the stream started. I was kind of busy this morning. Went over there to get a sandwich, which you just saw me enjoying a few moments ago. And no joke, I gotta say, I'm being totally honest here, this was one of the best sandwiches that I've ever had. The sandwich that I just ate just now was one of the best sandwiches that I've ever eaten. It was absolutely tremendous. It was a chicken cutlet sandwich. So it was like a breaded chicken cutlet, thin, there was like eggplant and like cabbage, coleslaw, pepperoncini mayo, and it was just tremendous. It was honestly so good. There's 2 places like within walking distance of where I live that are like some of the best sandwiches. There's some extremely high quality places to eat. It's one reason I really love living in this city in general, but in this neighborhood, there's just so many. How was the eggplant prepared? It seemed like it was like chopped up. I think it was like marinated and then kind of like chopped up into it was almost like a chopped. There was like eggplant and coleslaw and stuff all kind of chopped up. Almost like a baba ganoush, but not like a paste though. Just like everything was kind of chopped up and put on there. And goddamn, that was just so good. And they have other more expensive sandwiches too that now I'm pretty tempted to check out. But that sandwich I just had was absolutely delicious. Yeah, it's one thing that I absolutely love about about living in this neighborhood. So much good shit in this neighborhood. And you can say that in pretty much any neighborhood in Montreal, but man, within very close walking distance, some of the absolute finest eating establishments. The food influencer arc is coming together. In all honesty, if I started like documenting not just like the restaurants nearby, but the stuff that I cooked and stuff, and started making TikToks about it, I could probably get some stuff going. If I started doing some like just taking videos and then you do one of those like voiceovers to talk about like what you got and where you're going and everything like that, I think I could probably reach some people like that. No, I'm not in the Côte Chinois near there. I used to live in the Plateau, so I used to live around there, but not anymore. And again, I don't want to dox myself. I don't think I could be Matty Matheson. I think he's inimitable. He's just got an energy. I could get the look. I could dye my hair, get some tattoos, but I think you can't fake that. You can't just copy. It's not about the look. It's about the energy, the ethos. Yeah, he's on The Bear. I wouldn't say it's his show, but he is on it though. I worked at a deli for years, and I remember when a 90-year-old man said I made the best Reuben he's ever had in his life. It was sweet and sad because he wet himself on the table. I had to wipe the urine seat. This story, I got to say, I started reading this comment, Barb, and I had no idea where it was going when I started reading it. I didn't tell my coworkers because they were mean SOBs. I'm sure it was a really good Reuben, though. Rob's address is 1000 Colonial Farm Road, McLean, Virginia. There we go. I live in the same compound with all the Twitch streamers, you know. We all have our little cubicles designed to look like different apartments and living spaces. I got Lucid Fox and Marcus in my aisle, go for a little hike, get to Hassan's. He's got the corner office, obviously. How's Destiny holding up after the debacle? Not good. Not good, honestly. We had to call HR because he was like, I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much. He was not doing well, though, and they had to intervene. Is it worse than when he got divorced? I would say it's worse because he cares about this stuff more, I would say. Not that I'm really in a position to criticize anybody's relationship or family situation. But anyway, yeah, we're all together. We're all in all the different cubicles. It's all just made up to look like our little living spaces. I'd feel bad for him if he weren't a stupid asshole. That's always the tricky thing when it comes to mocking people for their personal problems, right? You know what I mean? It's like if you're a hateful bastard and a piece of shit, I kind of can't help it. Sometimes I do think that stuff's kind of out of bounds or off limits, but there's certain uniquely detestable people that I just can't help it. Did they do the Severance thing to all the streamers? I actually have not watched Severance, so I don't know what that's a reference to. Like the crypto shitheads that said enjoy being poor for 2 years, then lost their life savings. Do I feel bad for them? I really don't know. No, I don't. I don't feel bad for them, but I do feel bad. I think a lot of average people lost a lot during that period. We had all these retirement funds and unions, and we had a lot of people investing in these crypto markets who probably screwed over their clients who had nothing to do with any of that shit. Let me put it to you this way. Do you think he would extend that same kindness to you? No, I do not. No, I do not. Go watch it. It was the single best season of TV that I've seen. Oh, I should check it out. I've been rewatching The Sopranos. Like Steven Crowder's staff working in a toxic environment and seeking sympathy while broadcasting some of the most hate-filled garbage on the web. Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky to feel too much sympathy. Excuse me. As you can tell, my throat's still a little bit raw. I've been sick all week. Since Friday, pretty much. Feel a little bit better. I had a sinus thing. Was kind of dizzy. Really not feeling very good this weekend. I feel a little bit better, but still somewhat out of it. I still think I have a sinus thing because I'm having I don't know. I think all my shit here is blocked or inflamed or something. I don't know what's going on.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you, Demetrios. Thanks for the 200 bits. I appreciate it. Have you been to Havana recently? I would love to have been to Havana recently. I'd be so happy to go to Havana right now. Nothing would make me happier. Maybe I should take some sinus medication. In fact, I think I'm going to. Why not? I'll take some sinus medication with my Monster Energy drink here. Oh, Jesus. Oh, my goodness. Loopy Rob stream incoming. It's good to see you around Metal Dipshot. I feel like you've not been around. I feel like you've been too busy with your job to be hanging out with us. That's interesting. No, I hope that's going well. One sec. I'm gonna get some medication here, and I'm gonna power through this. Here we go. My job and my anxiety. I know all about that, brother. Whew. Yeah, good thing that you never feed into each other. That's true. Always good to keep those separate. Check out what else I got before the stream started. You know, you go to the corner store, the bodega, the dépanneur, as they're known in Quebec here. Excuse me.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Slub to rib.
Jack, thanks so much for 23 months tier 2. Thank you, Jack. Very close to the 2-year golden sub badge. Yeah, I got some sour gummies and stuff. That's always fun, right? That's always fun. The loose gummies. Yeah, they got those little bins and you get the big scoop. The only thing they don't have, though, is they don't have the sour Coke bottles. Those are my favorite. My favorite are the sour Coke bottles. Sometimes I think you're just making up terms that sound vaguely French. It's the dépanneur. It's the dépanneur, Johnny. That's what it's called. That's what we call them here. Gummy. Sour gummies, famous for curing sore throats. True, yes. God, excuse me. Really, it's not my throat that's the problem, though. It's been mostly like up here and like runny nose and just like congested sinuses and like a associated sort of dizziness, which I think has to do with like your inner ear getting messed up by the sinus stuff. Oh, jeez. Anyway, how was everyone's weekend? I didn't really get up to all that much, honestly. Like I said, I wasn't feeling super well. I hung out with my son. We spent some time together. Did we do anything that fancy? He did go to... Fuck. I'm going to try to stop clearing my throat. It's not super nice to listen to. He did start this like drama thing. He's doing some like this like special extracurricular drama program to help with his French, and he really loves acting and performing and stuff. So he went to his first one of those on Saturday. I was nervous and I wasn't sure how it was going to go, and it was so funny. I picked him up, and the like instructors or whatever were like, "Are you Elliot's father?" And they were like, "Wow." Oh shit, I shouldn't say his name. And they were like, "Wow, he was so great. He was so fantastic. He did such a great job." And they were like raving about him. So I guess he was like, he's really in his element. He's really in his element on the stage, performing, that kind of stuff. He like really, really loves that stuff. So I was really proud of him. He did a great job. We didn't do that much else on the weekend because I said I was a little bit under the weather. It was hard to do anything else, but we had a nice time. Really just love spending time with him. Really love spending time with him. He's like probably my favorite thing to do. It's funny watching Mini Venom grow up through Rob's dad tales. I mean, he's 8. He's 8 years old now. It's bizarre, you know? It's really weird. He's like a dude now. He's like a real dude. It's really hard to believe. It's one of the most surreal things about like having kids when it gets to this kind of level, because they change so much from like year to year. You know, and it's just bizarre. Because I really feels like it was not long ago that he was just like a tiny little baby or a toddler. Wait till they turn 10, 11, the child you knew completely thinks and acts differently. Yeah, I'm a bit familiar with it. From being like a step parent and everything. Like my stepson is, he's 18. He's 18 years old. He's an adult. I have an adult stepson. You know, it's weird. It's bizarre. Super cool guy though. And I've known him since he was 5 years old. So I watched him grow from being 5 years old to being an adult. You know, it's just really strange. Really, really cool guy though. You're going to make me cry. I have to ignore these auto-curated memories over the years my phone puts together. It gets me all choked up at work. Yeah, seriously, Barbara. It's tough, you know? It's tough. And on the one hand, like I'm sure you're familiar with this, or anyone that has kids is familiar with this, but you kind of look forward to them getting older so they're more independent and you don't have to be so totally hands-on all the time. You kind of crave it in a way. But then at the same time, it's like, where's my little guy now? What the heck's this? What the heck's going on? You know? Don't you need me for stuff anymore? And they're like, no. Leave me alone. And you're like, no. You know? You know, it's kind of the same thing with like co-parenting. You know, you know, he'll be with me, you know, 3-4 days, and you know, it's a lot. Solo parenting. And you kind of look forward to like having a little bit of time. I don't need a lot, but like a little bit of a break, you know?
I have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Sup gamers.
Hey, Orblady. Thanks for 30 months of tier 1, Orblady.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
Hello, Raiders. Welcome, Raiders.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I'm part of the companionship cube.
It's funny because it does it in the voice. It sounds like Gladys. Thanks so much, Lucid, for 26 months. And thanks for the raid. Very much appreciated. Yeah, I hope Carl is there as well. I hope Carl is watching. I imagine Carl misses me. I miss Carl. You know, we bonded and we have a connection. We're friends. We're pals. Anyway, how's the Lucid Fox stream? How was the Lucid Fox stream today? I hope it was great. I was just finishing up a point talking about like parenting and talking about whose Hosha does he vote down? He would. If Enver's Hosha was alive today, he would tell us to vote for Joe Biden, I think. I don't want to put words into anyone's mouth, but that's what I think would be the result. No, I was just finishing up a point. I was talking about parenting and the way that like you kind of like look forward to your kids getting older because, you know, you get a little of a break and you don't have to be quite so hands-on and it's not quite so like labor intensive. But then at the same time you miss having a little kid. You miss having a baby, even though you don't sleep and even though it's like hard and it's tiring and a lot of work. And it's kind of the same thing with me with co-parenting, you know. I'll have my kid with me for 3-4 days at a time, and it's you know, it's a lot. It's fine. I enjoy like parenting solo, and I enjoy spending time together. But you kind of like look forward to having a little break, you know, after 3-4 days of solo parenting. It's like, oh, it's going to be nice to have just a little break. And then inevitably, you know, when that time comes, you get a little break, and it is nice, and you can relax a little bit. You can take a nap. You can chill a little bit. But then at the same time, it's like, oh, you know, you still have this feeling. You have this feeling of like, oh, yeah, yeah. It's weird. There's a lot of kind of contradictory, conflicting kind of feelings and emotions that come with that. Hojo would stand against the dang Cheeto. Exactly. Hojo would tell us that, you know, it's the most important election. There could be a Cheeto coming back to the White House. Enver's Hojo would say to vote blue no matter who. Anyway, I don't need to keep going on about parenthood and my personal life kind of stuff. I'm still not totally comfortable talking about all that stuff, but you know. Donald Trump was the best president of America, says Top G live from Ohio. Yeah, the best, if your rubric for determining who's best is the most freaking orange. If that's how you're determining who the best is, you know, then yes, I would say he's the best. Sad that your mic has a stand, because that's a mic drop. I should, just take it right off there. Just throw it on the ground. Exactly. He's orange, folks. There's no getting around it. You know, he is. Okay, well, it's Top G live from Ohio. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for sharing your thoughts and views with us. We appreciate it. You take care. Okay. Good. Eating my gummies. Enjoying my gummies. You should have played him the hot coffee pot drop. It's true. The amazing thing about that was, blurp blurp. Thank you very much for the $10.
Trans rights.
Thank you, blurp blurp. I appreciate that. I agree. Yeah, the amazing thing about that was that Trump immediately resigned after that Eminem freestyle. The hot coffee pot. The now legendary hot coffee pot freestyle that caused Donald Trump to resign. He resigned from office that day in disgrace. Thank you, Barkley. Thanks for stopping by. You pretend to be a communist but don't share your gummies. I would be happy to share my gummies. Were it possible for me to share these gummies with each and every one of you, chat, I would do so. Believe me. Believe me. You're going to have to take this, though. See? Isn't that almost just as good? Isn't that almost just as good? You know, should we talk a little bit about this like whole Trump controversy from this weekend? Well, if we're going to talk about the Orange Man. There was a Trump controversy because he was talking about like the auto industry. And he was talking about like the auto industry, and he used the phrase bloodbath. He said there's going to be a bloodbath if Biden is elected. And then you had the news media fixating on this language to talk about how Trump's promising violence. Which is like, on the one hand, it's kind of disingenuous because that's clearly not what he was talking about in the context. On the other hand, though, it's like there is like with the threat of, there is this kind of ever-present threat of violence. We saw what happened on January 6th. If somehow Brandon or the Democratic Party, or whoever is running on the Democratic Party ticket in 6 months' time, whenever it is, if they do manage to somehow win, I think there's a strong chance that will lead to some kind of a backlash. There's a strong chance that it might lead to some kind of backlash if Trump wins. This is what I mean. Like, he threatens so much violence, they don't have to invent it. That's the thing. It's not that the threat of violence isn't there, because Trump does say that kind of stuff, but you kind of like delegitimize that when you take these out of context clips and then try and make it into something that they're not. And in fact, that just feeds into the narrative about the media, about how the media lies about this, and about it feeds into every single thing that Trump says about the people in the media. Are you a hat guy now? I've always been a hat guy. I'm just not always a hat on stream guy. It's like when they say he's threatening NATO when he's drumming up business for defense contractors. Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. Yeah, it's like, yeah, we think that he's some dangerous threat to the establishment somehow. He's some threat to like American hegemony or whatever, when he was just as good for business as any other president has been. But anyway, this whole thing has now been it's fed right into this narrative about the media. And that's what I mean. I think there's all kinds of stuff that he does say that you could focus on. So it doesn't really help when they do this moment where they take this kind of quote out of context and try and turn it into something that he's not. There's plenty of things that you could take without having that kind of context to use, but this is not one of them, I don't think.
President Donald Trump said some migrants are, quote, not people, and warned of a, quote, bloodbath if he loses in November. His rhetoric is drawing new scrutiny tonight, including from President Joe Biden's campaign. CBS's Skylar Henry is at the White House with more on that. Skylar, good evening.
Hey, Jerika, good evening to you.
Yeah, when he bragged about the extrajudicially assassinating an Antifa guy in Portland, and there was nothing happened with that. That's really incredible. You had the president like openly basically bragging about how that was just a targeted assassination. Zero of all the criminality and all the terrible stuff we talk about when it comes to Donald Trump, that didn't even like that wasn't even on the radar. That didn't even get a mention.
Biden spent St. Patrick's Day here at the White House. The rhetoric from him and Donald Trump is under the microscope, with some slamming the former president's comments this weekend on several different issues, while their respective re-election campaigns also traded barbs as this likely rematch takes shape.
President Biden sounded off on Donald Trump at the annual Gridiron Dinner in Washington Saturday night. At the off-camera event, he took aim at the former president's repeated stance on the 2020 election results, saying, in part, embracing the January 6th insurrectionists pose the gravest threat to our democracy. But as this war of words continues, some are questioning former President Trump's rhetoric on the campaign trail, referring to January 6th rioters as hostages.
And that's what they are, as hostages. They've been treated terribly and very unfairly.
It's very unfortunate.
That's what happens in America when you commit crimes. Generally, you're not treated very fairly. It's so funny framing these people as like political prisoners. And we've talked about January 6th. You know, part of it was Trump inciting a crowd to go and commit this kind of like half-assed coup. Absolutely. Were there like feds deeply involved in like organizing and planning that and instigating it? Absolutely. But like, I said January 6th, get your minds out of the gutter, okay? Get your minds out of the gutter. Like we've talked about, if you're stupid enough to fall for this like honey trap on the part of the deep state to get Donald Trump and his supporters in trouble, I mean, that's on you. You know, I don't have too much sympathy. Talk about like people that you don't have that much sympathy for. If you fall for this fucking obvious, like,
have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The Dems just say, do not come. So much less racist. By the way, thanks for the new badge.
Old Dutch, thanks so much for 36 months, tier 2. Congratulations to you on the 36-month, 3-year Pearl sub badge. Thank you, Old Dutch. Trump is such a coward, though. He turned his back to them on the day of the insurrection. Now that he's seen nothing will happen to him, he's embracing them again. It is truly amazing. Like these people that went along with this, you know, again, talk about people that I don't have a ton of sympathy for. The people that went along with this and their fucking hero. He convinces them to go and riot and cause a big ruckus at the Capitol. Did they get let in by the police? Were there police involved in this? I think so. Yeah, I think so for sure. I think they're on both sides. I think there were police like in the MAGA movement, like both that day and like in like off-duty cops as well. And I also think there was like an anti-Trump contingent that was involved in like planning and egging these people on. I think you got to hear from both sides on this one. I think there were cops and feds and informants on both sides of this. You know, but yeah, you go along with this for this guy and he totally abandons him. You know, your hero, your hero that you're willing to throw your whole life away for, just abandons them on the day. And everyone did, the whole conservative class. Like we saw, like, remember the tweets from like Kevin Sorbo. They were all waiting for like a revolution to happen. They were like, history is being made. It's the revolution. We're doing it. And then as soon as like it was obvious that it was like a big fucking pathetic joke, they were like, what? We didn't have anything to do with this. This must be Antifa. They immediately they're such cowards. They're such cowards. They were immediately just like, no. And they denounced it. And now, of course, they're embracing them again. But yeah, talk about people that like I don't have a ton of sympathy for. I'm sorry. If you fall for this fucking scam and you think Donald Trump is this like working class champion that's going to have your back when you throw your whole life away to make sure that he stays the president of the United States after losing an election to Joe Biden of all people, you know, that's on you. That's on you, I think. Even if there were feds on the other end of the Discord or the WhatsApp or the Telegram channel that radicalized you on this shit, you know, whatever. I don't feel too bad for you if you got swept up in this. He was notorious for burning everyone who goes to bat for him. Yeah, and like we said, now he's embracing them again, now that it's 4 years later. And by the way, this is the absurd thing. This is the really absurd thing about this. You know, which is on like January 7th and 8th. There was like a bipartisan consensus. There was the possibility, I think, to enact some kind of consequences on this guy, to either like bar him from running again, to have some kind of legal consequences, but it needed to happen right away. You know what I mean? The idea that it's 4 years later, and remember, we were there on that day on this channel. It's coming up on 4 years later, and nothing has happened to him. And there's still this like trial, and there's still the possibility of stuff happening. Regardless of that, though, regardless of any of that, he's now won the Republican primary, you know? Regardless of how much the criminality is real and how much like real legal issues there are hanging over it. And I'm not denying that there are. I'm not denying that he is a criminal. I'm not denying even that January 6th was an attempt to like overthrow the U.S. government. It was a stupid and horribly fucked up and embarrassing attempt to do it, but it was an attempt, you know? Whether there were feds involved in that or not. But like now you can't do anything. This is my point. Now you can't have any. Now he's won the Republican primary, right? So regardless of how legal or illegal that was, regardless, he just easily won the Republican primary. He's at least generously, I would say he's tied with Biden in the polls, depending on which poll you look at. Now you can't do anything. Now, even if there is some trial that determines that he was guilty of whatever, you can't do this. You can't put him in jail now. You can't put him in jail 6 months before an election when he's leading the polls, when he just won the Republican primary. They're really going to do that? No, of course they're not going to. Like there was a possibility at some point shortly after this happened that they could have acted on that. And now that time has passed now. That's also the amazing thing. You have Joe Biden talking about like, oh, you know, he wants to overthrow democracy. You know, he's such a dangerous threat to democracy. That's what the Democrats are saying. He's such a dangerous threat to democracy. That's why you need to run. That's why you need to vote. That's why we need to defeat the orange man. It's the difference. It's a vote between democracy and authoritarianism. But it's like, why would voting for Joe Biden mean anything when it's like he tried to do this half-assed attempt to overthrow the government? No legal consequences happened. That's on you at that point then. Like they hired a fucking attorney general that did not go after him. Or if they did go after him, it's 4 years too late. Not 3 years too late, not 2 years too late, not 1 year too late, 4 years too late. So now it's just like you got to vote for the Democrats because this guy might overturn democracy. But it's like, what? How is that a possible motivator for people? You know? Why isn't he locked up? Exactly. That's a good question. Well, and that's the other question as well. What democracy? That's another subject that I wanted to get into today, this like Russian election as well. Oh, did you hear that Russian democracy is not very democratic? Wow, can you believe this country? Can you believe this? Wow, no, I can't. That must be really fucked up to live in a society that claims that you can have some kind of impact into what the government's doing by voting, and only to not actually have that impact. That's got to be really messed up. My heart bleeds for all the horrible Russians that have to live under this kind of system. But this is my point though. Like you can't lock up Trump now. You can't regardless of how fair it is or how legal or illegal, whether Trump committed crimes, and he did. Again, I'll be the first to admit he did commit crimes. You can't lock him up now though. Now you're heading into an election. He just easily won the Republican primary. He's got he has a sort of democratic legitimacy. He has a constituency. They're not going to lock up the front runner in the election. You know, it's just not possible now. There was a time to do it and they blew it. They blew it. Well, yeah, Brazil did, but Brazil did it with the backing of the U.S. So I think it would be a little bit different in the U.S. And also, that was a left-wing leader that was imprisoned. And as we know, these things are not exactly applied evenly. Yeah, they thought we'll just let him get beaten by DeSantis, the moderate Ron DeSantis.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Kijiji, thanks so much for the 3 gifted subs. Thank you so much for that. Very kind of you. Anyway, are we even seeing the clip of what he said? That's why I wanted to watch this.
Campaign seized on this moment, slamming Trump, who at a rally in Ohio said this after talking about tariffs on Chinese-made cars.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Louisiana Republican Senator Bill Cassidy, at times critical of the former president.
He was talking about the auto industry, which is funny because, generally, Democrats have been better for the auto industry than Republicans. It was Obama that rescued the American auto industry. And he fucked up by not nationalizing it, which he should have done. But traditionally, Democrats have actually been better for the U.S. auto manufacturing industry.
So Biden's going to say it's about political violence.
And we should be able to get Chinese vehicles as well. Do we have a free market or don't we?
Always just that little bit of tension there.
Now, on the campaign trail, the Biden team is touting record numbers, having $155 million in its campaign war chest going into March. Officials say they plan.
I'm so off Twitter, I hadn't even realized this was a controversy. Yeah, they tried to turn it into one. But again, they've just embarrassed themselves, and they've given fuel. They've given fuel to this whole narrative about disingenuous fake news media. There's plenty of comments that you could point to, legitimate comments that Donald Trump has made to kind of make this case. They freak the fuck out over this specific turn of phrase when he's talking about the auto industry, and have fed into this exact narrative about liberal media making shit up to go after Trump for. I'm so annoyed that we can't get those Chinese EVs in Canada. I so badly want one of those. What is it, BYD? I so badly want one of those. Where's my free market? I thought we had a free market. Apparently not. Anyway, it was a stupid controversy. I do think Trump is dangerous. I do think either a Trump loss in the next election or a win either could lead to political violence. But this was a totally manufactured controversy that did nothing but set themselves back. And as I said, regardless of whether Donald Trump is guilty of crimes or not, and I believe that he is, their inability to really go after him for this stuff in a timely manner has completely made it impossible to use legal institutions to have any kind of a challenge to his candidacy. I need that Wuling Hongguang Mini 5K for an electric car that can go on highways. That sounds great. Yeah. Well, this is the whole thing. It's that's our climate policy, right? We're not investing in solar or wind energy anywhere near where we're supposed to. We're not investing in transit. So can we at least get cheap electric cars from China? If we have to use EVs, can we at least get 5K or 10K EVs from China so we can get EVs and actually afford them? And they're like, no, still no. Still no. How about that? Instead, we're going to do protectionism for Elon Musk. That's right. Good. That's it. There we go. No transit, no solar, no wind. We're going to keep with the drilling, keep with the fracking. Only EVs, but not the cheap EVs from China, though. Not those. How about that? EVs for $5,000, but at what cost? Exactly. Well, the cost is $5,000. Amazing. Only the Tesla death trap. Exactly. That's all we get. So, I don't know. It gets at like, I do think Donald Trump is detestable. And you're looking at the stuff that he's, and this is where it gets into the difference between Democrats and Republicans too, which is like almost entirely rhetorical. You know, Donald Trump is being like, immigrants are not people. Famously, my most famous tweet about MS-13 came in like 2017 or 2018 when Trump was referring to immigrants as like vermin. Right, he was using this kind of dehumanizing Nazi rhetoric about immigrants, you know? Fundamentally, though, what has been the difference between Joe Biden's immigration policy and Donald Trump's immigration policy? You know, fundamentally, there's no difference. It's literally the same Stephen Miller like policies that were actually like framed by Democrats and liberals and in the media as being extremist. Biden has kept these policies in place. And this is the problem. Like, I think if Donald Trump is elected, yeah, I think that could have some really horrible consequences for all kinds of people. I really do. And if that happens, there's going to be no one to blame other than Joe Biden and the Democratic Party establishment. It will be their fault. As much as they're going to try and shame you individually for like not wanting to support Democrats enough, they're going to try and shame people and shame the left and shame anyone that had any criticism of Joe Biden. If that's what happens, and I think it will be a disaster if Trump wins again. Doug, I don't want to downplay this. I really don't. There's a lot of similarities between Biden's policies and Trump policies, but I think Trump is worse. And I think they might even take some things a step further. But if that does happen, that's going to be the Democratic Party's fault. They blew it. They blew it. That's exactly what I was saying in like 2018, 2019, when it came to the possibility of the Democrats nominating Joe Biden in the first place. That was the exact argument. They're not going to meaningfully fix any of these big crises. They're going to try and play both sides. They're going to adopt this right-wing framing. People are going to be disillusioned, and then you're going to get Trump again, or you're going to get even worse Trump. And it's looking like option one. You know, that's precisely what me and many others were saying about that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, Red Scary. The people most to blame for Trump winning is the Democratic Party. I mean, that's it. That's the reality. It'll be a disaster if Trump wins, which is why I need to know why they're running like they want to lose. Exactly. That's what they need to answer that question. The Democratic Party needs to answer that question. Like when hundreds of thousands of voters in Michigan and all these other swing states commit to this campaign. What is it? Undecided? I have major brain fog right now because of my sinus infection. Undetermined? And their response to that is to be like mad at those people rather than being like, maybe we shouldn't support genocide. The uncommitted campaign. Thank you. Sorry, I'm so out of it right now. The uncommitted campaign. And the response to that is to get mad at those people rather than not doing genocide. And then when they lose, they're going to blame those people rather than themselves. Just like after 2016. Like what we're seeing right now with the Democratic Party is word for word the exact same strategy that they used in 2016, just focusing on Trump being bad and trying to pick up moderate Republicans, trying to pick up Nikki Haley voters. That was the strategy in 2015, 2016, and it blew up in their fucking faces, and they did not learn one thing. They're doing the exact same thing, and maybe it'll work. You know, Biden is not Hillary, like I was talking about. I think Hillary's a detestable, awful person. I do think there is sexism involved in the fact that she's very deeply, profoundly unpopular, where Joe Biden, who's just as evil and depraved as she is, doesn't quite have the same level of we hate this guy so much. I do think there is an element of sexism to that, not to let Hillary off the hook for anything, but I don't know. That's it. I don't know if it's going to be the same result, but I certainly wouldn't be putting any money on them being successful. The tweet that says, "Don't be a single issue voter as Palestinian children are being slaughtered daily." Yeah. If you're going to be a single issue voter, genocide is a good single issue. Yeah. I mean, I think not voting for Joe Biden to the Democratic Party is a completely and totally understandable and legitimate response when they oversee and subsidize this genocide that we've seen over the last 6 months, regardless of how they're trying to get out of it now. All the rhetoric now about Netanyahu, all the stuff about how they're clashing. They've given them everything that they've wanted over the last 6 months. You know, Biden flew to Israel and gave Netanyahu a big hug and kiss to subsidize what they were doing, to promote what they were doing. So regardless of whatever kind of they try to spin it as some kind of 4D chess or some kind of we're behind the scenes, we're doing this. I'm sorry, but they own this now. They own this policy. And if they lose because of that, that's going to be their own problem. Will they blame themselves? No, they won't. The stories of his opposition is legacy washing. Yeah, like you said, there's that whole Chuck Schumer speech the other day when he talked about, the Netanyahu government, they've got to go. They're trying to spin it to make it all about Netanyahu now, which is really not accurate. Like we were talking about last week, there's no moderate Israeli prime minister or government that's going to come in if the Netanyahu government collapses. There's no moderate new prime minister that's going to come in and have a different view or a different policy. They just don't exist. They're completely empowered, they're completely neutered in whatever, to the extent that they exist at all in Israeli society or Israeli government. They have no power, institutional power whatsoever. So they're trying to do this thing now, blaming Netanyahu, talk about the border crossing, talking about Rafah, talking about this port that they're building. It's entirely to save face and try to convince some of these uncommitted voters that they're responding to their needs in any way, which they're not doing. Dems go to defense. We want what you want, but we're just as powerless as you. Yeah, except when Donald Trump and the Republicans get in, then they have the power to do whatever they want. All of a sudden, it's now they're going to be able to do whatever they want unilaterally. Not to mention the port obviously has some other purposes other than aid. I saw a tweet that was pointing it out that it's they're carving this divider basically between North and South Gaza, and this port almost lines up perfectly with this new divider that's being installed basically. To say nothing of the fact that you don't need a port to get aid into Gaza. You need to drive trucks through the border crossing, and to do that you need to stop Israel from blocking the trucks. You know? Our great ally, the only democracy in the Middle East, they're blocking aid from getting in there, intentionally starving people. And apparently there's just nothing we can do about that, but we can build this port that's going to fix the problem somehow. Yeah, it's basically just a military base in Gaza. Anyway, we can put a pin in this for now. We have to talk about the royal family. We have to talk about the royal family. Some kind of fuckery is going on with the royal family. And I'm sorry, but we have to wildly speculate on it. She's dead. Someone's dead. Someone's getting... Thank you, Red Scary. I was actually hoping that you would show up to get into this. Red Scare, I actually have a development for you that we need to take a look at. This just dropped a not very long ago. Oh, where is it? Fuck. Hold on. Look at this. What's going on with this? Look at this. What is going on here, folks? Former U.S. President Barack Obama has arrived at 10 Downing Street for a private meeting. We got a surprise private meeting.
What are you here to talk about? Any advice from the Prime Minister?
What the hell's going on in this cursed island? What the hell's going on up there? Something. Something is going on and I want to know what it is. They're apparently planning on doing some kind of announcement today. I don't think we've seen anything yet. Here's the best analysis that I've seen, though. And the question is, why do we care about this? Well, I don't really know. Here's the best take on this that I've seen, though.
Produce Kate Middleton. Where is she? And you know what? You know what's so funny about all of this? This is pissing me off because what's the girl from Suits? Meghan Markle, when she was in the public eye before her husband packed the station wagon up and took her and them children to Tyler Perry and I don't know why he picked them. I guess he said that's their goddaddy or something. Whatever. Before Medea stepped in, they wanted her to trot her ass with her open coochie out in front of the camera. She didn't even get to close up good when she had her baby, and they was checking her nail color and the color she was wearing to the damn events and stuff in the library and hanging out with the orphan kids and all of that. They clocked her every move. And you mean to tell me the best that we can do for Kate Middleton is these grainy ass deep fried photos of her in the car? What is purported to be Kate Middleton? What's purported to be Kate Middleton? Look, produce that goddamn white woman, because all I'm gonna do is wildly speculate. At the very least, somebody's cheating, and it's probably William. And if it's not William, both somebodies are cheating, and now they're trying to figure out how to give it to us. Ever since their big mama died,
absolutely,
ever since Nana died, it's gone to hell. So either he cheating, or she cheating, or they both cheating, because it's also weird that other man, I forget his name, I think it was William, died by schmuicide as well. And he was mixed up with them and Pippa and all of that. He's somebody's ex-boyfriend. He's somehow involved. He died by schmuicide. And then the people was like, oh, but Prince William had nothing to do with it. Bitch, we ain't say he had nothing to do with it. I think he got something to do with it now. What the hell going on over there in the bruv land? What's all this then? What produced that white lady? Because what I think happened is they got her brain somewhere in a bowl full of cold banana pudding trying to reanimate her. So that's where I'm at. So if y'all don't produce
Jellied
this
eel.
I'm gonna know something between this and the Boeing planes. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do because the Boeing man apparently done died by suicide in the middle of the damn deposition. Oh, he just decided he was done in the parking lot. He just decided he was finished. I'm like, motherfucking stupid to y'all. Produce that Caucasian woman. Produce her now. We're all gonna continue to watch. And then the Photoshop. You expect me to believe that the Duchess, the princess was hunched over. She had her C3 and C4 vertebrae hunched over the MacBook in Canva. And then Photoshop. Kiss my ass.
This is why they want to ban TikTok, by the way. This is why. This is the kind of content that they want to silence this woman. Man, I love that. And that's the thing. It's like whether she's had some kind of surgery, okay, you know? But you can't have someone you can't just have a hospital gown like photo. Like, what's that so hard? Like Red Scary is pointing out, they did trot her out like hours after giving birth. You know, what's going on here? It's going to be truly amazing if this does have to do with Charles dying. If Charles dies like 8 months after finally becoming king, like, I'm sorry, that is funny. Like, there's just no way people can say, oh, you're being insensitive. You know, it's a human being, whatever. I think waiting your entire adult life for your mom to finally die so you can become king and then to like make it 8 months in before kicking the bucket yourself, I think that's just funny. There's no way to get around that. Camilla's going to throw a world historic tantrum if she only gets to be queen for less than a year. Waits 70 years for a job and then dies within a year. Like, I'm sorry, that's just beautiful. There's a beauty to that. Like George Lucas said when he was making the prequels, it's like it rhymes, you know? It's like poetry. And yeah, it is true also that the queen was obviously like keeping all this shit together. Like this whole charade just can't continue. Now that she's gone, she was the only thing holding it together. And we did the whole like inauguration or whatever it was, the coronation. They're going to do that again now. We're going to do that again in a year. And we're going to have William putting on all the sacred objects and the sacred robes and touching the sacred sword and the sacred scepter and doing all the chants and all this stuff. You're going to do that again? Really? Really? Like, it's enough now. You know what I mean? Produce that Caucasian woman. Produce her lest we wildly speculate. That's what I've been saying. That's all that's left to us. You know, you're giving us these breadcrumbs. You're putting out like AI images and like this obvious bullshit. Of course, we're going to wildly speculate on that if you don't produce this woman. The original timeline was Kate Middleton would emerge from her cocoon on Easter like Christ. That's pretty good. At dawn on the third day, look to the east. Kate Middleton above Buckingham Palace with an Irish army behind her. Somehow I don't think that's what's going to happen. Somehow I don't think that's what's going to be it, but, you know, it would be funny. It would be funny if it was. You know what I mean, though? If this is what happened, like if Charles really does die in the next couple of weeks or months, like I think we can just stop this, can't we? Can't we just stop it? Can't we stop playing this game now? Can't we just stop subsidizing this like generational live action role play situation? This little costume party for adults? The royal family, really? Oh, I'm the king and queen. Like, come on. It's like, it's enough now. We've let this family play dress up long enough now. You know what I mean? We let them pretend that they have some kind of power. We let them pretend that they're like contributing something. It's enough now. No more. But Rob, if William gets hit with a Havana gun or something, we could get a boy king. That would be at least kind of fun. That would be kind of fun. It's funny because they could abolish the royal family in the UK and we would probably still have it in Canada. That's how pathetic this country is. We'd still be, even if they abolished it in the UK, it would still be like, there's nothing we can do. Nothing we can do. We've still got to maintain these structures. There's just absolutely nothing we can do to get out of it. Nothing we can do. We can only keep the monarchy if the king and queen wear full suits of armor every day. Yeah, like, and put them in a battle too, you know? Put them in, like, let them lead the troops into battle. You know what I mean? Put them in, like, send the king to Syria. Put him on horseback in a suit of armor and send him on the front lines. And just kind of see what happens. It would be so funny for them to have to move to Ontario and just constantly complain. That would actually be a funny outcome if they became an exile, like a royal family in exile, living in Canada, and they just became king and queen of Canada. Just like we suck off Israel and Ukraine no matter what. Put the king on horseback, suit of armor, send him into the Donbass to fight the Russians. Okay? People are like, the people of Ukraine have suffered enough. Canadian Mint's like, oh crap, we just made $100 million $20 bills with the dead king on it. I feel like they've been dragging their feet. I don't know if they've printed any currency yet with the king for this exact reason. I think they were kind of like, let's just bide our time on that. Let's just see how things go. I'm going to be if I ever have a bill, not that I carry around money very often anymore. If I ever have a bill in my pocket with that fucking guy's face on it, I'm going to be so embarrassed. I'm going to be so embarrassed. How embarrassing. They started on coins, but not paper money. God damn, what a ridiculous place this is. They saw his hands, were like, let's give this a few months, I think. Yeah. How ridiculous. China has Mao and we have King Charles. Exactly. This is like... This is why they belong... That's why the next century belongs to them, and we're getting left in the dustbin of history. I'll see if there's a video we can watch on this. I'm getting a little bit tired of talking because my throat's still a little bit messed up. What's like the most conspiratorial thing I could find here? see the Raptors Magic jersey swap? I did. I feel like Grady might get in trouble for that one. I'd like to see Grady Dick's progress this season. He had a really rough start to the season. Now he's looking like a solid pick. He's played quite well over the last couple of months. I feel like he might get in trouble for that one. That was a bit cheeky.
Alarm bells in the palace. Could they be ringing? Could be serious.
Crown and out. It's a brutal blow for him.
The king loves being king.
The monarchy in crisis.
This looks salacious.
Being conspicuously absent, and with each passing day.
Are all pro sports fixed or what? I think they're more fixed than they were previously now that gambling has been so normalized. Gambling has like kind of hopelessly corrupted pro sports.
Mystery surrounding her condition is deepening. Coming up on 60 Minutes.
Why are they not telling us?
Is the palace concealing the truth?
The effort to keep the details secret is incredible.
About the princess in hiding and our sick king.
He's hopefully will be okay. If he's not, no, I don't want to say that because you'll run with it.
By all means, share. It's not what we commoners expect to see. The royal family.
This is in the realm too, in the Commonwealth.
Yet that's the reality of the past few weeks. With King Charles largely out of action as he
this is so ridiculous. The royal family. I really do think like it is true that like when the Queen was around, it, like I think the idea of the royal family, like if you didn't think about it so much.
Talk you through all this.
Free Palestine.
Ainsley, thanks so much for 21 months, tier 1. Really appreciate it. Could not agree more. Free Palestine, from the river to the sea. Yeah, calling yourself a commoner. It's 2024. Exactly. This is how pathetic it is here in the Commonwealth, in the realm. This is actually Australia. This is a little bit. We're not quite as like. As I don't think we have quite programs like this, on this level of like. It's almost like turning it into like a drama reality show type thing. But like I think when the Queen was there, you kind of accepted the idea of the royal family. You accepted the ridiculousness of it. She had, whether you think it was earned or not, she had a kind of like personality. She had a kind of like legitimacy in a way, and like not really, but like there was kind of something there you could hold on to. You can kind of pretend that this like was a legitimate kind of institution. But I feel like that's lost now. Yeah, it was the residue of legitimacy from like the World War II era. Like it was still somewhat there. But now it's like, I think watching the coronation for me too was it was like a splash of cold water in the face a little bit of how completely insane it is that this still exists, this institution. Watching him put on all I keep talking about it, but like watching him put on all like the special robes and the special cloths and objects and the sacred objects and the chanting and stuff. I was watching that like right here on this stream being like, this is insane. This is fucking insane. How is this allowed to continue? It really was. I think it really kind of exposed that for being like how preposterous it really was. Oh, I've put on me special knickers. Yeah, crowning a new king in 2023. Like, we're still doing this. That's what I mean. Like, now we're going to do that again? Like, seriously? They bring in like 50 million in tourism, but they would also bring in that money if they weren't there. It's part of the tours. Yeah, it's like, what is it? Well, they're really just like, what are they doing? They're selling tabloid magazines at grocery store checkout counters. They're basically like, yeah, they're like this like weird family who play dress up, and we all, like the Truman Show, we all have to pretend that that's real. We all have to look around and talk to each other about the king and the queen and all this stuff. And we have to pretend that it's real. And they sell a couple of magazines, they sell tabloid newspapers at the grocery store checkout counter. and people go on tours of the various grounds and stuff, and they have a bunch of tacky souvenirs. That's what it is, basically. God chose this family to rule the Commonwealth. We shouldn't question it. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, and France doesn't have a king. Millions of people still visit the Versailles. Tourism argument is nonsense. Like, we don't need to do this. This is what I keep saying. Whether it's Canada, the UK, or Australia, or anyone else that's still part of this like cursed Commonwealth, we do not need to continue to pretend this is legitimate. Like I was saying, like I've said before also, like part of the whole reason that we still have this institution in Canada is precisely because all our fraudulent deals that we made with Indigenous nations and crown lands and all this stuff. And if we severed ourselves from the crown, all of a sudden we'd have to renegotiate all these totally fraudulent deals that we've made with Indigenous nations. And that's why we don't want to ever examine that. That's why we don't ever want to reevaluate that. You're against monarchy, yet you still eat at Burger King. Very interesting. It's true. In fact, I think Burger King is one of the better fast food burgers. I don't know if I can watch this whole 20-minute segment. I just wanted to take a little break while we watch this ridiculous bullshit.
How, for example, did a simple photograph of a supposedly happy Princess Catherine and her children turn into a worldwide photoshopping scandal? That PR fiasco must surely go down as one of the palace's greatest stuff-ups. So, what's really going on? And is there a royal competent enough to restore the shine to the crown? If there's one thing the British monarchy likes to get right, it's detail. Glorious detail. A prime example being the coronation of King Charles.
Toes, yours are together on that one, yes. And then I just need you to come back a fraction this way towards me to there. Brilliant. And so can you get your that foot on that one? I love it. I love it.
Behind the scenes, from photos of the King and Queen to the preparation of royal robes.
Things are very good, yes. Oh, look. Splendid.
Excruciating, exacting planning left nothing to chance.
Wasn't it that side?
The left side? It is normally the left side. This your left cheek is better.
For the palace, certainty is everything. But right now, there's precious little of that to go around.
God save the king!
I, William,
this is so creepy.
Pledge my loyalty to you as your liege man of life and limb. So help me God.
This was so fucking creepy, this
Just
whole thing.
18 months in, the reign of King Charles is mired in crisis. What's plan B?
I don't think there's a great deal of long-term planning going on when there's so much what-if going on.
From the King's health battle to the mystery surrounding the Princess of Wales.
The whole nation is now asking the question, where is Kate?
Disaster. But there's a lot to unpack there. There is.
His slimmed down monarchy is coming apart at the seams.
While the secret.
I just have to put that. This was, even though this was like a ridiculous thing, it was very funny to watch it on this program. And this was one of my favorite things. I was so proud of this. If you remember, we did this live and it worked out so well. underscores how creepy and cult-like the whole thing is. As soon as you put that soundtrack on it, it instantly becomes like so weird and creepy and dystopian and disturbing. Yeah, that was Colin Stetson. That soundtrack is so great. That music is so good. Yeah, the horns came in right when it got to the horns. So it got muted when I did it on the stream, but then I had to like actually recreate it as a post because it was so funny. Good movie. Very, very good movie. Very, very scary. Anyway, that was one of the funnier moments from this show when we did cover the coronation. Looking forward to round 2 in a couple weeks.
Secrecy around Kate?
There is no secrecy around her. I know there are all sorts of rumours floating around.
It would be so funny being one of these like monarchist talking heads.
Bizarre.
A combination of palace missteps, family feuds, and sheer exhaustion conspiring to take the gloss off this new royal era.
The palace is really struggling, and so the future is very uncertain.
They
And
should
people-
invite
some
me to
people
talk
are
in one of
assuming
these
the
things.
worst, and that, you know, William may actually come to the throne far quicker than anyone had imagined.
It had all been going so well until a routine prostate operation on the king in late January. As the 75-year-old left hospital with Queen Camilla, there was no hint of the bombshell to come. Surgeons had found cancer. Even now, 6 weeks on, what type and where
And isn't
remains shrouded in
he
secrecy.
treating the cancer with like herbs and stuff? Isn't he doing like a Steve Jobs? Just to make it like even more, just to expedite the whole process even more. Like he's using like herbs and potions and stuff. And he's like drinking smoothies and whatever. Like, sir, come on. You have all this ill-gotten wealth, and you got like it's time to put it into good use, and you're trying to cure cancer with like special herbs. You're getting the royal alchemist. You're getting the royal alchemist to come up with some kind of ointment. Yeah, the Princess of Wales is missing. The spare prince is in exile. The king is treating his cancer with herbs. If this was the 1300s, France would be looking to invade. And maybe they still should.
Well, Christina, it's hard to imagine a London where King Charles isn't out and about.
I have to say, Adam, it would be really hard to imagine that because he does like getting out and about and meeting the public.
If anyone has an insight into how King Charles might be coping, it's Christina Kyriakou. From 2009 to 2017, she was his communications secretary, a key advisor at the heart of the then prince's inner sanctum.
The King's got quite the battle ahead of him.
I agree. I think it's like any person receiving a cancer diagnosis. Initially, there's shock, and then you want to find out everything. So he does have a battle ahead of him, but no matter what, he will still be performing his duties.
There will be no public engagements for quite some time, but if anything, the king appears to have been speeding up
There he is.
rather than
There's our guy.
slowing down.
In recent weeks, I have been most deeply touched by your wonderfully kind and thoughtful good wishes for my health. And
I've been so deeply touched by the various ointments that I've been applying to my nether regions. He's gooning.
in return, can only continue to serve you to the best of my ability.
Sir, but what do you do?
Throughout the Commonwealth.
I've continued to serve you to the best of my ability. It's like the Office Space thing. What would you say you do here? You know what I mean? Like what? Oh, I'm sorry. You're taking a big break from all your important duties, like such as, what exactly? Yeah, waving to tourists, just kind of like farting around on a horse or something, shooting pheasant. Like what exactly are you talking about here? What will we do without the king's guidance? We just don't know. We don't know.
Recently, we've seen a whirlwind of meetings with politicians and heads of state, punctuated by weekly visits to the hospital for treatment.
It's wonderful to see you looking so well.
Well, it's all done by mirrors.
And okay, so and it's funny. Like, I wanted to talk a little bit about like Russia, the Russian elections and stuff, but again, these are the countries that we like lecture Russia about their lack of democracy. Here you have the UK. You got the unelected prime minister, who's the third prime minister in 4 years, unelected, talking with the fucking king, hanging out. We have America, the two wings of the capitalist party, a fucking rapist game show host, and this like pathetic old man who's overseeing a genocide. And then in Canada, we've got a second generation Nepo baby with no actual ideals, and a country that's completely gridlocked and unable to like actually do anything to meaningfully help people's lives. And we're really going to sit here and talk about Russia like, oh, can you believe their democracy isn't democratic? Wow. Can you imagine? Like I was talking about with Vijay Prashad, whatever you want to say about Russia or Putin, Putin is at least someone that has like a personality. Like, you kind of understand. And frankly, just looking at the historical argument, it's totally understandable. Not making any kind of comment about how democratic Russia really is or isn't, but it's actually totally understandable why Putin would have a sense of popularity among the public in Russia. Putin, who became leader after this 12 years of total humiliation at the hands of the West, when their economy was in total shambles, and has, like he said he was going to do, restored them to being this kind of like feared and respected world power. Whether you like the guy or not, or whether you like Russia or not, it's not hard to understand why people in Russia would, if not like him, at least like be okay with him being the leader of the country. He's obviously smarter and sharper than any Western leader. I mean, yeah, let's see Joe Biden talk about like the historical context of Palestine or any other kind of issue. When you listen to Putin talk about geopolitics, it's well-reasoned and informed by real historical knowledge. Yeah, even when I don't agree, like as we talked about, he's an anti-communist. He shits on Lenin. He blames Lenin and the Soviet Union for leading to the whole situation with Ukraine right now, which I think is ridiculous. But he still has a basic argument that he's making using history as an example. It doesn't mean that I agree with him. But that's it. It's like, it's really not hard to understand why Putin would have a sense of sort of legitimacy with people in Russia, regardless, not saying anything about their actual democratic institutions and how legitimate those are. And I think it's preposterous for anyone in Canada, the United States, or the UK to sit there and talk about Russia like it's an autocracy, and then talk about our own countries like we live in this beautiful, vibrant democracy. Like, that is delusional. It is absolutely delusional to still think that. And I think this example of the UK, Rishi Sunak talking to King Charles, is the ultimate example of that. Neither of whom were democratically elected.
Well, we're all behind you. The country's behind you.
The king might have cancer, but to Christina Kyriakou, he seems pretty unfazed about it all.
He's keeping his humour, and that makes me feel optimistic.
He's keeping his humours. They're being readjusted by the
done it to the nth degree.
court alchemist.
So
he's keeping his humour.
For his diagnosis, I feel like he'll be attacking it with as much zeal as everything else.
Just not chemotherapy.
King Charles's cancer was discovered by chance here at the London clinic as surgeons carried out an operation to treat an enlarged prostate. This is also where the Princess of Wales spent nearly 2 weeks recovering from abdominal surgery. While Charles has been out and about, Kate has been conspicuously absent from the public gaze. And with each passing day, the mystery surrounding her condition is deepening.
The secrecy surrounding Kate is fascinating.
The argument
fact,
against Rishi Sunak is slightly flawed, only in that UK doesn't vote for PM, they vote for the party, and the party chooses PM. I think still the fact that he's the third PM in the last like 3 years, and that when in the last actual election it was a vote to elect Boris Johnson, you know? I think that's still, that's the sign of a healthy system. Exactly. That's a healthy, democratically legitimate system.
I'm convinced that the only reason we were told that King Charles had this prostate problem was to deflect attention from what's going on with Kate, because I suspect it's much
The Western
more
world being
serious.
obsessed with some octogenarian's prostate is the ultimate punchline. Well, like we were saying, it's just like, for me, it's just like a funny, low stakes conspiracy to start thinking about when it comes to the Kate Middleton stuff. I think it's important to talk about how ridiculous and absurd the whole royal family and this monarchic system is, especially considering how Canada is a part of that, without getting caught up in the day-to-day, oh, what's going to happen? You know, I just think it's mostly something funny to laugh at, and we can have a kind of criticism about our own culture and our own society when we talk about this.
Tom Quinn is a well-connected royal author who delves deeply into the secret workings of the monarchy. He thinks it's high time we were given some clear direction about the palace goings-on.
Aren't there like conspiratorial monarchists that like believe in like different royal lines of succession and stuff? I'm sure there are. That's fun.
Usually with these things, it's much better to be open about it, because if you don't say what's going on, you just invite people to speculate. It's a natural human instinct. We can't help doing it.
Where is Kate Middleton? Where are you, Kate? Some people think she's dead. Some people think she got a BBL.
From a Brazilian butt lift on the Royal Derriere to a haircut gone wrong, speculation has been as ludicrous as it's been exhaustive.
She's in a coma.
Do you understand the difference between the London and the City of London? Not totally. I know the whole City of London, though, is a big part of the weird, like, LaRoucheite sort of lore mythology, right? Something about the City of London, like controlling, kind of like an Illuminati type thing.
She's had a facelift.
Until now, a long lens paparazzi shot has given us the only clear view of her since Christmas.
That is not clear.
Other than the now infamous Photoshop fail of Kate and the kids, which, unsurprisingly, fed a frenzy of suspicion.
It has been pulled by 5 major news agencies because they say it was manipulated.
But all it's done is add to these conspiracy theories.
George, this is all very strange.
Why wouldn't the Princess of Wales come out and say, I'm okay?
Produce
so
this
we
woman.
See her?
I think Kate probably would have done that. But remember, one of the big
I love this
things-
whole this whole industry of just talking heads that just speculate. They don't know. They have no information. You just have but you put together a whole 30-minute like news hit talking to all these talking heads who know nothing, just totally speculating on it. The City of London is a distinct political entity that has its own laws and is not technically subject to the laws of the UK at large because they never actually capitulated to the king back in the Middle Ages. The king just like signed a thing with them letting them keep their autonomy for a loan. Fucking bizarre. What an absolutely bizarre culture.
That Princess Diana hated about being in the royal family, I think Harry too, is the fact that you're not a free agent. You can't move. You can't scratch your ear or brush your teeth unless this vast machine that runs the royal family gives you the okay. You know, and I suspect she would have been open about it, but she's probably been advised, look, don't say anything because it will just lead to more speculation. Again, the palace probably getting that wrong, because not saying leads to more speculation. Telling us stops it.
For all the furor, Tom Quinn says more than 3 months off the job is plainly the result of just one thing, a very serious health challenge.
I mean, I suspect it's complications caused by hysterectomy or a benign growth, but, you know, you don't take that much time off. if you're not very ill.
Well, the palace says we'll see Kate back soon. Can we believe that?
I think from Easter, she probably will gradually come back into view.
They don't know.
Publicly.
I think this.
I
It's
suspect
like
it will be quite slow.
what is this whole news thing?
tried
Is
to
just
swing
with
the
no
attention of the
information.
press and the public
Let's just produce
to
this like kind of
King
slick,
Charles.
salacious
It's probably linked to the fact that she's basically
20-minute
said,
segment with
"I'm
with a
exhausted."
bunch of
You've seen how
spooky
thin she
music
is. She's so
and
thin.
stock
You know,
footage
it's
with
not
no
good.
actual new information.
As for
Just a bunch
King
of sickos
Charles,
speculating
Tom
on
thinks
stuff
that
that they know
he
nothing
too is
about.
facing a more serious prognosis than perhaps it appears.
What does this woman do
I've
that's so
spoken to
important?
someone
It's a great
who knows
question.
the family well.
Great
And
question.
She said, "Look, I can't give you the exact details, but it is an aggressive cancer.
What do any of these people do?
It's not good. It's treatable, but it's aggressive, and everyone is really worried because it's not something that's going to be easy to treat."
So this could be going on either for quite a while or, sadly, not long at all. That's
Yeah,
what you're
exactly.
hearing.
The treatment is going to be really, really damaging for Charles. He'll be sick, nausea. There'll be weight loss. It's going to be dramatic.
All of which is taking a toll on the heir to the throne, Prince William. He's been forced to whittle down his public diary to focus on his wife and father and stay home to look after the kids, while also, according to Tom Quinn, being at the centre of rapidly accelerated succession planning.
I've been assured that already succession planning is taking place, and originally, up until this diagnosis, the idea was, okay, we've got at least 5 years till, King Charles is roughly 80, before we have to start thinking about preparing William to take over.
So if you put the stall over.
So at the moment you've got Prince William trying to care for his father who has cancer, but then also being trained to take the throne.
I think you can see in recent film and pictures of
The
William,
music
you can
is
see the
great,
stress,
yes.
Because first, your father may be gravely ill or become gravely ill, may even die. But then you've got, yikes, I'm going to be king. What does that
use the
involve?
computer to mark up
he's
the
gonna have to
size
get
of the
up to
account.
speed in the next few years.
Thank you, Dimitri, for
Already
the 200
trimmed
bits.
back to just 10 working royals, and with 2 of the leading lights out of action, the strain on those who remain is showing. As you'll see, it all begs the question, is there anyone spare who might be called on in the family's time of need?
The fact that some people might want Harry back is neither here nor there. Some people have appalling taste and no judgment.
It would actually be really
don't
great
hold back, did-
if the UK, in its kind of like desperate, dying, collapsing civilization, if some kind of like new War of the Roses popped up, and you had different factions. You had the William faction, and then you had Harry coming back from America, and you had a whole like, give us that, why not? Let's really take this to the next level. What are this lady's credentials? I don't know. It's a great question. Yeah, raising a foreign legion. Yeah, getting like an army, a mercenary army or whatever. Like that would be fun. You know what I mean? I'm trying to remember in the Game of Thrones books because this wasn't really in the series. The Faceless Men were the assassins, but there was like an army of mercenaries. Something about a cloak. There's like a multicolored cloak. Is it the Unsullied? No, it's not them. I'm losing my Game of Thrones lore. Harry coming back from America with an army sponsored by Coca-Cola. And I would have no choice but to support that. Yeah, maybe the Gold Company. I don't remember, actually. I've lost all my lore. But I guess we are getting more House of Dragons soon. I'm going to have to get back into it. The Jem'Hadar, of course. Anyway, that would be fun. That would be a fun outcome to all this.
I'm trying to avoid telling you what I think. I'm trying to be discreet.
It's not every day you get invited to a castle, but when you're meeting up with British aristocracy, a certain quality of residence is to be expected. Lady C, hello.
Greetings, welcome to Castle Goring.
Thank you, thank you.
Who is this lady?
Showing me around her palatial home is Lady Colin Campbell, better known as Lady C.
Well, this is Queen
Oh, she's a
Victoria's
lady.
boudoir.
Yeah,
She's
sure.
a colourful socialite and best-selling royal author
So, this is the state dining room.
who prides herself in very
Come
much
on.
keeping a finger on the blue blood
We
of
simply
the royal
Come
use
on.
the computer to mark up the size of the account.
It sucks living in a monarchy, and I wish Madame Guillotine had gone on tour in all of Europe.
Thank you, Diego, for the 200 bits. This is so silly. This is so preposterous. Who's this lady? Oh, she's the lady something or other, royal author. Like, come. Are you serious? Are we seriously doing this? This is ridiculous.
26 comfortably.
Who have you hosted here in your time?
Can't mention their names, but you will know of some of them.
No one
With all
comes
that's
to your
been
special
happening
dining
around
table.
King Charles, there's hardly been a more productive time for dining table discourse. This is a king who waited decades and decades to be.
It's funny because when he says, with his accent, when he says decades, it kind of sounds like he's saying dickheads. Like it sounds like he's saying dickheads, but with like an Australian accent. Listen.
This is a king who waited decades and decades to be. King. It's a brutal blow for him. What would he be thinking right now?
Dickheads and dickheads.
Life is unfair. Life can be cruel.
Anything could happen.
Yes,
We
of
simply
I'm
course.
shocked.
use
Rob,
the computer to
degrading an
mark up
accomplished
the
women
size
writer.
of the account.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Dimitri. Thanks for calling me in.
Anything could happen. He could die.
How many dickheads have you had
If they've
around this
caught
table?
something early, and it's treatable, which it is, he's hopefully going to be all right. So everybody's optimistic, and we just wait and see. There's nothing we can do except wait and see, is there?
As for the Princess of Wales, Lady C believes there's nothing secretive going on.
Lady C.
Just the appropriate respect for the privacy that would and should be shown to any patient.
I mean, why would she be expected to give any more information? Would you ask your mother or aunt or grandmother or sister to, oh, come on, share it with the neighbors? And
If I was paying, look at the guy's face. If I was paying for their house, yeah, I would probably ask for more information. If their entire existence was subsidized by public funds, yeah, I would probably be like, hey, what's going on? If it was just some random private person, no, I wouldn't care. If their entire housing situation and lifestyle was being funded by public funds, then yeah, I would probably want to have more information about that.
I mean, I'm afraid that's not how people function. And let's remember, we are dealing with people.
Why all the secrecy around Kate?
There is no secrecy around her. They have
Man.
said what was wrong with her, and they have said how long it's going to take. There is no secrecy around her. I know
Man,
there are all sorts of
please.
rumors floating around, and I mean, some are just beyond bizarre. But Catherine will certainly be up and about in the not too distant future.
Are we sure about that?
I'm pretty sure about
How can we be sure about that?
You may not be sure about it, but I'm sure about it.
Then why did they do the fake Photoshop, Lady C? That's the question. There is no secrecy. Then why are you putting out AI photos? What is that? What's that all about?
She's a very popular key royal, though. She leaves quite the hole in the royal family when she's not seen by the public.
She certainly does, but then that's what happens when you're the star of a show.
The current health crisis has certainly revealed one thing above all else: the fragility of a working royal family that has been reduced to the barest of bones.
I've been saying for 25 years that the king was absolutely wrong and that a slimmed-down monarchy would be an
Just pack it up.
disaster.
It's finished.
And I
We're
think
finished
that
with
we
the
are
monarchy now.
at a crossroads and it's crunch time. And they need to get their act together and they need to rectify the error of having slimmed down too much.
Well, I don't hear alarm bells in the palace, Robert, but could they be ringing?
They are not ringing yet. Business as usual is a phrase I keep hearing. That and the Churchillian phrase, wartime adage, KBO, keep buggering on.
Amid all the conjecture about the unfolding challenges, royal biographer Robert Hardman is a voice of reassurance. He spent a year in the shadow of King Charles as he chronicled his ascendancy to the throne.
I think Easter's quite a key kind of turning point for the monarchy. I think that's when there'll be a kind of reset and we'll sort of see where things go from here.
Well, to borrow a sporting analogy, who's in reserves? Who's Team B? Who's stepping up to the plate?
Ghost Dunk, I couldn't agree more. Ghost Dunk says what they should do with the royal family is take away their power, give back all the jewels, open up Buckingham as a public service, and have all the royals do medieval times shit like Royal Pro Wrestling. Who says no? I think that's a fantastic idea. I think that's worth a sub for Ghost Dunk. I think that comment is worth a gifted sub, if you ask me. He spent a year in the shadow of King Charles chronicling his many pedophilic crimes.
Obviously, the big burden falls on William as heir to the throne. He's got his own issues, obviously, because he's got his wife.
Wrestling's big in the UK, too. So, in fact, make the new king
you can count on me,
Big Daddy.
And good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Diego, for the gifted sub. Make classic British, popular British professional wrestler Big Daddy. Make him the next king. King Big Daddy. You know? Why not? The crown could be like a belt you have to defend. I love that. By jousting. Yeah, exactly. If you can't joust, then like you don't get to be king.
Looking after the kids. I think what we've seen a lot of is Queen Camilla and Princess Royal. They've really stepped forward. They're doing a lot of stuff. You've still got the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh. And you've got the Queen's cousins, the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester. Yeah, if you look back to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, and you see this sort of extended family, you think, well, there's plenty of people there to help out. Now it's looking rather leaner, but that's the way it is.
The drawback of the B team is that both star power and youth are non-existent. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh, Edward and Sophie, are 60. Princess Anne, 73, and the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester are approaching their 80s.
Obviously,
it's finished.
Member of the family who's completely
just move on.
Out of action. Prince Andrew.
We got to move on from
this.
this.
No way that no matter how bad things get, I don't think there's any appetite to bring him back into public life. He's out in a sort of internal exile, if you like.
One thing that King Charles' diagnosis did achieve, of course, is a visit from Prince Harry, as fleeting as it may have been. If the Sussexes are hoping for some sort of reconciliation, Lady C rates their chances as a big fat 0.
We love family.
Have they even made their podcast? Didn't they get millions of dollars to make a podcast and just haven't done it?
But please pay for it.
Honestly, respect.
I mean, anybody who's duped by them really deserves.
Made one episode. Classic.
You look around.
It's relatable, actually.
Your castle here, there are portraits of monarchs past. Do you sit here and look at the current royal family and fear what's about to come?
Good question. I think the royal family needs to make it more apparent to the public, the young public, that they are relevant and that they serve a purpose.
It can be difficult to stay relevant if you don't see them.
I couldn't agree more.
Ultimately, if it weren't for all the drama...
Who is this ghoul? It's Lady C.
Thank you very much. Author Tom Quinn believes we may have
You don't know
lost
Lady
interest
C,
a
the
long time
famous
ago. So Tom, what do you reckon the average person thinks
royal
about this
adjacent
royal
socialite?
crisis?
I thought everyone was familiar with this
opera. You know, how could they
world
resist it? All the
famous
fights.
personality.
That's brilliant for the average person. Brilliant.
Like so many crises before, Tom reckons the palace will
Yeah,
once
Meghan
again
and Harry were their
muddle
chance to
through. But what
reinvent
might just
themselves for a new
emerge is
generation.
royal
They fucked it up.
family that looks and
They were just
works
too
a
racist.
little different to how it does today.
So I think the future of the monarchy will not just be slimmed down, it'll certainly be that. You know, they're just not going to work as hard. William wants to be a good father. He wants to spend time with his wife and children. He doesn't want to be this kind of machine. Because really, you know, Elizabeth II was like a machine. Everything she did was about duty, duty, duty. Almost to the point of being obsessive compulsive. Charles and William, they want a different kind of life, which may be good for the monarchy, unless people begin to say, well, they're not doing very much, maybe we should get rid of them, which is always possible.
Well, cheers to the King's health, mate.
Yeah. Is it possible?
Cheers to the King's health.
Hello, I'm Adam Hegarty. Thanks for watching 60 Minutes Australia.
Everyone do a
Subscribe
cheers
our
to
channel
not the
now
King's
for
health later
brand new
to
stories
cancel
and
that one
exclusive
out.
clips every week. And don't miss out on it.
Everyone do a cheers later to the opposite of the King's health. And we're going to cancel out that cheers. We're going to drink to the death of the monarchy. Chin chin. Still had a couple little tiny little drops in there. Here's to the King's health. May it rapidly reach the natural end of all health. Keep taking those herbs and potions, sir. Here's one of history's shortest reigns. That's it. Too bad. Not a bit of good. Not a bit. Anyway, folks, if you enjoy the hard-hitting journalism that I do on this program, and like I said, we do talk about a lot of serious stuff. I think it's kind of interesting to focus on this absurd story because we can talk about these bizarre, non-democratic institutions and how much that completely contradicts what we tell ourselves about living in Canada or the UK or the US or whatever. And I just think it's funny to speculate on the continued misfortune of this family. I just think it's enjoyable.
You've just become an elite member of the Friendship Triangle.
Red Scary, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Thank you. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, folks, if you do big Anglophile over here, that's right, Orb Lady, I am. Orb Lady and I have spent hours talking about all the things that I love about the royal family and the British. You know, I love that stuff. So everyone knows this about me. So if you can, folks, please do subscribe to the program. Halfway to the sub goal today. Had a great week last week getting to the sub goal each and every day. Really hoping to replicate that this week as well. So if you can, please do subscribe. As you know, it's the only way that I'm able to continue doing this show each and every day is if people subscribe and I make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up. So if you can, please do subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Help me get to the sub goal. Help me keep this show on the air. Help me continue doing important, vital commentary like covering this story and asking prominent Marxist intellectuals about gooning. This is only possible through your support and your donations, folks. What are your thoughts on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's energy drink? I have not tried it. Although his run that he's doing in WWE right now is absolutely world class, legendary. He's absolutely destroying right now. I didn't even think he had it in him still. The Rock hasn't done anything like interesting in the wrestling world for quite a long time. He's just been this kind of very generic, boots to asses, kind of motivational speaker, boring hero guy. And he really leaned, he went back to WWE right now. He leaned into, he was going to do wrestle Roman Reigns for the world title. People freaked out because they thought, because Cody Rhodes was supposed to do that. And Rock now leaned into the people that were getting mad at it and has gone back to his like heel roots and has been just absolutely incredible. Honestly, it's been so entertaining. Like he hasn't done a character like this in wrestling for like over 20 years basically. And it's so fucking funny. Rob needs subs to avoid the royal pellets he's feeding Kate Middleton. He was always best as a heel, as most great wrestlers are. I mean, the heels are always more interesting and entertaining than the baby faces, but he's been actually like, I do get the sense that like he got this feeling of like, oh, okay, so Cody Rhodes is the one that the fans want. And he's like, okay, well, if that's true, you're going to have to compete with this. You're going to have to be as entertaining as this. You know, and he's not phoning it in. He's absolutely bringing it. I actually had to screen record this on TikTok the other day because I couldn't believe how funny it was. Where is it? Let me see if I can find it. Can I?
And Cody Rhodes, The Rock couldn't wait.
God, I was laughing so hard at this. Can I find it?
The world couldn't wait to see how you were going to react.
Well, I'm going to download it then and I'll play it elsewhere.
And Cody Rhodes, The Rock couldn't wait. The world couldn't wait to see how you were going to react and respond after that Friday slap. On Monday Night Raw, 2 days later, what were you gonna do? And you get on Monday Night Raw, you get in the middle of that ring, the world is watching, and here's what you did. Here's how you responded to the biggest moment of your career when you slapped The Rock. Take a look.
My mother. She's the only one I got left. And I can't hand it to Dusty Rhodes, but I certainly can hand it to Michelle Rubio.
Are you fucking kidding me? You start fucking crying? You start crying? That's how you respond? No wonder all your fans are crybabies. Cody crybabies. No wonder, because they're Superman, their hero. He's not crying too. You can cry. You can cry. I can't give the belt to Dusty, but I can give it to my mama. I can give it to my mommy. My mommy. Shut the fuck up. Give it to your mommy.
Oh my God. Well, it is toxic masculinity, but he's a bad guy, though. That's the whole thing. He's a bad guy. You can just download TikToks. I do know that, but this is like a 10-minute video. I just wanted to clip that one part. Yeah, and the reason he's talking about Dusty Rhodes is because Cody Rhodes is Dusty Rhodes' son. His whole thing is like, I'm going to finish the story. I'm going to win on the biggest stage, win the title that my dad never could. I'm going to give it to my mom. That's his whole thing, finishing the story. And then The Rock came in and is like, I'm going to decimate you. Yeah. Anyway, folks, halfway to the sub goal. I would like to move on. I would like to maybe have a little bit more actual productive discussion and maybe not talk about dumb bullshit anymore. It's fun and important, in fact, some ways, to spend time talking about the dumb bullshit of the monarchy and the royal family and all this shit. But like, you know, it would be good to, you know, focus on some other things. Halfway to the sub goal, we got 185 viewers. If there's a few more brave heroes that can step forth and support this program, help me make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up, if you can. And then we can move on from this. And I could actually take a little break and get some more water. Listen to my voice. My voice is even more raspy than usual because I'm coming off of illness here. So if you can, folks, please subscribe. Then we can move on. We can move on from this. We've got Ali in HD looking for a sub. I'm sure we've got some other unsubbed chatters that would love to get hooked up with a potential gifted sub or something like that. I like how Red Scare, you reward me for covering the dumb bullshit monarchy, royal family stuff. We need to get around some royal potions, exactly. I need people to subscribe so I can get more royal potions and ointments, sacred objects. My sacred object is my Lenin statue. What is this, orb lady? Oh, you know what? I did have some music to put on. Some salves.
Got a new plug, my other guy sucks. Better got a buzz out, $25. Drop 200, I got too much, and I got too fried, I'm sunny side up. Got your dad doing blow off my ass, got your mom trying to suck on my nuts. Don't tell me money don't buy happiness when it so happen that money buy drugs. Therefore, by the transit of property, when I'm fucked up, don't talk to me. I feel like it's a bunch of little bugs on top of me. Help me, I can't get them off of me. I can't move, I'm stuck in the sofa that's stuck in a room where the walls get closer. Next time you try fucking me over, I'll put you in the bath with a plugged-in toaster. It's too late, no one can stop me. Hey Siri, how do you get rid of a body? Chop it up, do a little bit of karate. I'm doing 90 and it's sitting in a bag riding shoddy. Such a good boy when I was 18, but I smoked alcohol and drank weed, and now my brain turned into baked beans. Don't be like me, kids, I'm fried.
Okay.
This is some guy, Rob Russo, some leftist based in Canada. I was turned on to this sick individual, and I found this.
My liege, I bring you the royal leeches and the royal healing crystals. Thank you, ButtNerd69. And thank you to the Majority Report for the raid. I really appreciate that. Hello and welcome, Majority Report. Thank you so much for joining the program. It's me, Rob.
To talk you through all this.
Cat dance, 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 cat dance.
Thank you, Hack All the Things, for the 3 months tier 1. Thank you. Thank you for that. And if you just came over from the Majority Report, first of all, I'm Rob. It's nice to see you. Twitch's #1 monarchy enjoyer stream. That's me. I'm pivoting to being like a royal family guy, like a monarchist, royal family type.
You can count on
fellow
me. You're gonna have good
on
old
here. I'm trying to
Rob
corner the
talk
market
you
on
through
Twitch
all
to talk
this.
about this. Mercurial Shroom, thanks for the gifted sub Twitch's oldest music and royal family blogger. That's right. That's me. The hot news segment, Kate Watch, has taken over the stream. It's all anyone wants to talk about. So if you did just come here from the Majority Report, you are just in time. I'm trying to get people to support this program. So fortunately for you, you got here just in time to support this show. I do only have 16 subs to go to get to the sub goal. So if you can, whether you're just tuned in now or whether you've been watching for a while, please support the show if you can. Please subscribe. It costs $5 per month. If you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe totally free of charge. Totally free of charge using Amazon Prime to convert that to a Twitch Prime sub. Would love to maybe get a few more here before we move on. I'd like to get up and get a drink of water in just a few moments. And it would be fantastic. It would be absolutely fantastic if we could get a few more subscribers or gift subscribers in the next couple of minutes. And don't forget, when I get to 50 subs, I do sing a song. And I couldn't even... I don't think the song... If I did sing a song today, I don't know how great it would be. My throat's not very... My throat feels very raspy. I could maybe do like a Rod Stewart thing.
You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for all you do. My tanky brainworms have flourished under your guidance.
Spell check. I love that. Thank you for the 24 months. 2 years of Tier 1. Happy to nourish anyone's tanky brainworms. I'd like to think that there's a couple of people that have maybe that were tank skeptic and who have been converted to the dangerous tanky ideology through watching this program. Spring is coming and the brainworms are awakening from hibernation. It's a beautiful part of nature. So now only 15 subs to go, folks. Just a few brave heroes could step forward and support this program and get me across the finish line for today. Only a few brave heroes could do this.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Kenny 1. Thanks for the tier 1 sub. Very kind of you. Brand new community member. Brand new community member, Kenny 1. Very much appreciated, Kenny. Thank you.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
So what? Vote for Khrushchev and invade Hungary. That's right. That's right. We're nurturing an ideology, an anti-Hungarian. It's primarily anti-Hungarian, pro-monarchy. It's kind of a new synthesis that I'm working on here. Risk Inverse, thank you for the gifted sub as well. I really appreciate the support, Risk Inverse.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
We hate the Hun. We love the King. Simple as. That's right. It is an anti-Polish stream as well. Yeah, I would agree with that. Metal Dipshit, thanks for the 3 gifted subs. I really appreciate that. Metal Dipshit, thank you. I haven't even eaten lunch yet, so I'm pretty anti-hungry right now. Oh my. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness gracious. Okay, and we do have a little hype train going now too, folks. Level 2 of the hype train, 10 subs away from the goal.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all
now
this.
Now only 9. So not only now can you support, and by the way, for anyone that just raided into the channel, we will talk about more serious stuff in just a few moments. Just got to do a little business here. It's the price of doing business here on twitch.tv. I have to mentally somehow make the little number at the bottom of the screen go up every day. Somehow. I have to mentally just using some kind of telekinesis, just will it to go higher. Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the gifted sub. 9 measly subs away from the goal, folks. 9 subs away, level 3 of this hype train. Not only can we get to the sub goal, it's totally within reach, but get access to all these fun new Twitch hype train emotes. Doesn't that sound fun? Produce Kate Middleton. This is all we're saying. Produce this woman. Rob goes bloody mental in it. Produce Kate Middleton. I was thinking last night about how much of the pervasive anxiety of modern culture has to do with whether wrong number in the computer. Like, Metal Dipshit, it's something I think about a lot. How so many of I've got legitimate, mental health struggles. And you can't just there's no amount of money that just makes mental health problems go away. I will say though, a lot of my anxiety, like a lot of depression and anxiety, and even not to get too personal, but dark thoughts and these kinds of things, a lot of that would be significantly alleviated just by being economically secure and not being anxious every single month about being able to afford housing and groceries and that kind of stuff. A lot of this anxiety and depression that I feel would be significantly alleviated. Not eliminated entirely, but significantly alleviated. Just marry your royal. That's right. No problem. They need some new blood. They need some new blood in the royal family. And I think I would be the perfect person to really shake things up. Have you tried licking boot better? Kind of. I mean, I do that for all these authoritarian foreign regimes, but so far none of them have monetarily compensated me for that though. Yeah, just got to get the Ned money by becoming a Ukraine guy. Folks, 0% of the way through this level 3 of this hype train. Are there any more brave heroes? We're 9 subs to go. 9 subs to go to get to the goal. And then I promise we can move on and we don't have to talk about it anymore. It's actually getting hard for me to talk so much today.
Good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Irate Lump, thanks for the 39 months. That's so many months. Wow. Crazy. Irate Lump, thanks so much for all the support. 38-month streak. Hell yeah.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Dan, thank you for the gifted sub as well. I appreciate that, Dan. And thanks, Diego, as well, for gifting another sub.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Very cool. And now only 6 to go. Only 6.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old
little
Rob
subs to go.
Talk you through all this.
Oh, excuse me. Only 6 itty-bitty subs to go, folks. Very cool. Anyway, I think I'll just take a little break, okay? I really appreciate all the support. I will try to make up for the last little bit before we leave here today. I'm going to take just a little interlude. I'd like to get some more water. Get up and walk around a little bit. Okay? I'll come back and we'll talk about some more good stuff. One moment. So don't go anywhere, okay? Don't go anywhere. I'm going to be back in just a minute. Okay, see ya. Okay, hello. Hello, how's it going? What's up? I was just calling to try and make my son an appointment to get his hair cut. His hair is kind of crazy right now. I was just talking to Lady C, exactly. I was giving a call to my good friend Lady C. Just to get all the latest gossip, the latest hot goss about the royal family. The hot goon. Gamers. Man, I remember when getting that Nintendo Entertainment System. What a momentous day that was. You wanted to hear the Zelda commercial?
The latest Nintendo newsletter? Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game. You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System. It's The Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers, too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda. Awesome. Intense.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up. The Legend of Zelda sold separately.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob
Nice.
to talk you through all this.
Dr. Maggot, thank you for the gifted sub. I appreciate it. Okay, so I got a video here. I intentionally did not look at this because I wanted to look at it on the stream. I got to self-retweet this coronation tweet, though. That was funny. Okay. So yeah, I did not previously look at this. Maybe some of you may have seen this. I don't know. An Israeli song named Jews Pua, broadcast through the Israeli primetime television show Eretz Nehederet, states that they were the ones who went through genocide. So it's a special little song that they put out. This new song that's tearing up the charts in Israel. I have not listened to this. I saw a few people reacting to it. I have not listened to this. This is the first time reacting to this new song that's been released in Israel. Here we go.
Tonight, listen to a message from us to you all. We are a country that is not big, it is small, you see. And when you call us stupid guys, it hurts us so.
When you call us stupid guys, it hurts us so. Sorry, let me just see if I can. It's kind of a weird formatting here. I want to see so we can make sure we see the sub. Oh shit! Make sure we see the subtitles here. There we go. We're off to a great start.
It was Hamas who started when they crossed the fence, and every nation has inherent right to self-defense.
fuck? I mean, a couple things here. Let's not, like, without criticizing the lyrics, without criticizing the, like, music of the thing. It was Hamas who started when they crossed the fence. I would say it was Israel that started it when you put the people in the fence in the first place. You know? What fence are they crossing? They're crossing the prison camp fence that you put up. So really, that's not Hamas starting it at all. Really, it's the people that put up the fence in the first place that started it. And again, every nation has the inherent right to self-defense. But do the people of Gaza have the right to self-defense? This is what I've been wondering. You know? We've been asking these questions. They can't defend themselves. But Rob, on October 7th, there wasn't self-defense. They were killing all these civilians. Okay, well, when Israel defends itself, what do? Kill civilians. That's every single time Israel engages in this process of defending itself that all our political leaders support. You know, they always say this about Israel's right to self-defense. What that means in practice is killing civilians. So apparently, I don't agree with this. Apparently, according to Israel, their leaders and our leaders, part of this inherent right of self-defense is just massacring civilians. So what is the difference then? What is the difference that we're talking about, really? Why does one side have this perpetual right to defend itself and one side does not? They just have to meekly accept being put in a prison camp, kidnapped, tortured, abused, starved, bombed, shot, intentionally maimed, you know? And they just have to meekly accept that. But then, of course, the country that has the army and the full backing of all these powerful Western countries, they have this inherent right to self-defense that they're talking about. I don't know. I feel like I'm taking this too seriously. I don't know if I can stop this music every 5 minutes to every 5 seconds to address every single line. Let's just continue this. And then maybe we can talk about it at the end.
Nation has inherent right to self-defense, and our women are allowed to show their face. We are a nice nation. We act with an intention to follow international rules and regulations and minimize the harm to civilian population. Tonight, remember we're the ones who went through genocide.
This is insane. This is insane.
Song about a toy to boycott us will be a huge regret that reminds us of time we all want to forget.
It is the turn of Germany now. Israel, 0 points.
Never again, never ever, never again. Never again. Do you want to see us die? No! Atiplu alai, Am Israel Chai, Am Israel Chai. Tonight, remember we're the ones who went through genocide. So show us that this time you're on our side and give us our juice. And give us our juice. Give us our juice.
No, this is not parody. What the fuck? Wait, is this related to Eurovision? Like, is this the actual Eurovision entry? Oh my God. That was so much more insane than I imagined. That was significantly more insane than I ever imagined that it could be.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Dimitri, thanks for the 100 bits. Rob, I'll never forgive you for this atrocity. Listen, I'm a journalist, okay? I'm a journalist, and it's my job to share this kind of stuff with you, whether we like it or not. We don't have to like it. It's a parody song from a comedy show. But is it a parody, though? Because this is all things that, like, people in Israel believe, though. Like, maybe they're making it, maybe they're playing up the ridiculousness, but these are all actual arguments being made by Israel to justify what they're doing. Like, that's not a parody. Like, a parody is like making fun. If it was like taking, like, if it was making fun of Israel, right? That would be a parody. You'd be doing a parody of, like, Israel, right? These are all actual arguments that Israel does make, though. You know what? That's not like satire. That's not what satire or parody is. If it's just intentionally bad and stupid, like, okay, I guess. But this is actually what people in Israel do believe, though. The joke to them is that this is what people think, but they aren't true. It's a parody of what Eurovision thinks Israel would submit. Okay. Let me just fix this here. Is this still not? Okay. Sorry, just fixing the size here. A parody song from an Israeli comedy show. That classic Israeli comedy have been absolutely killing it lately. A parody song from an Israeli comedy show mocks Israel's entry for the Eurovision contest, suggesting October Rain is too political and Israel should send this song Jews Pois instead. But yeah, because they're trying to submit this song October Rain for Eurovision. Which kind of makes it very bad parody if it is. Well, that's the whole thing, is that, like, you might be making fun of Eurovision or whatever, but, like, they're all making arguments that, like, are totally routine and normalized in Israel. Like, this is what Zionists and Israelis do believe, the things in this song. October Rain has got to be really bad. In the cold October rain. Rejected demo leak.
Those that write history, stand with me. Look into my eyes and see. People go away but never say goodbye. Someone stole the moon tonight, took my light. Everything is black and white. Who's the fool who told you boys don't cry?
It stinks.
Hours and hours and flowers. Life is no game for the cowards. Why does time go wild? Every day I'm losing my mind, holding on in.
It stinks.
So the parodists sincerely believe what the lyrics really say, while mocking how dumb the lyrics of the real song are. That seems to be it. Yeah. If you want a political song, like, this is what we'll do, and they're just making a bunch of turning this like all these like shitty arguments into like a pop song. So funny that Israel is allowed in Eurovision, but Russia's not. Might as well just put Israel in NATO. Yeah, seriously. I mean, the whole thing about Russia, we got to ban all the Russian authors, and oh no, ban all the Russian whoever orchestra, symphony conductors, and tennis players, and get every single Russian person on the record denouncing Russia. And then Israel kills 35,000 people, whatever the number is now, and it's like, oh, that's fine. That's fine. They're actually allowed to do this, and it's good. Bar is pouring out all the Russian vodka. We're not going to have Moscow mules anymore. Now it's a Kiev cooler. Like, it is stupid. Anyway, yet another example of this Israeli comedy. Despite the long legacy of absolutely incredible, amazing, historic Jewish comedy, for some reason, when you look at actually Israeli which all comes from the diaspora, of course, and then when you look at actual like Israeli comedy, and it's just the absolute worst dog shit you can imagine. It's a Kiev kulak. God. Okay, this looks good. I like that guy, Arnaud Bertrand. He's like kind of a French nationalist, but he's got some really good analysis. Just ignore the fact that he's French, just like you do for me. And we'll be okay.
Interesting parallel is the rape of Nanking, which you might have heard of by the Japanese right before the Second World War in 1937, where you also had, even on a bigger scale, because I think it's 300 to 400,000.
No, Rob, diasporic Jews are weak and degenerate or something. That's seriously what they say. It's like it's as much as they claim everyone else is anti-Semitic, everyone that wants to criticize Israel. It's like that's the kind of attitude they have. I saw that there's this whole trend as well. When you look up like Jewish cuisine, now often it'll say like origin Israel, which is like absurd. All this Jewish cuisine that comes from the diaspora. If you look up on like search engines now, it's like origin Israel. It's like, no, it doesn't come from Israel. Everything that we think of as like Jewish culture comes from the diaspora. It does not come from Israel.
Civilians were murdered.
They criticize fucking Holocaust victims. And they use the Holocaust to justify their own violence and apartheid and criminality. And then when Israelis talk about Holocaust victims, they're like, oh, we're not like, we're weak, we're strong and tough, and we'd fight back. They delegitimize and they mock, in a way, the actual victims of the Holocaust. And to say nothing of the fact that using the memory of the Holocaust to justify dehumanizing another people and committing genocide against another people is absolutely spitting on all the victims of the Holocaust. Using their memory to justify your own apartheid and your own genocide, your own violence. Like, I think there's nothing more disgraceful than that.
Atrocious ways on women raped and so on by Japanese. But what's interesting,
the stuff that comes from Israel is just stolen from other countries in the Middle East. Well, that's what I mean. It's stolen from the countries in the Middle East, or it's taken from the Jewish diaspora, which exists all over the world. In Montreal, all over the world, and is responsible for like huge amounts of like really important culture, whether it's in the arts, in the culinary world, all kinds of different things. But then Israel expropriates that as well, and they delegitimize the Jewish diaspora.
thing is that the Japanese were trying to hide that. It was Japanese soldiers on the ground doing all of this, but the Japanese were trying to hide that from their own population, which when you read the book, I've read a book about it, you could see they were like staging, the foreign press or the Japanese press coming to Nanjing in the midst of the massacre, like staging an area, showing them everything is well. It's just anti-Japanese propaganda that we're doing this. It's absolutely not true. Look at these very happy Chinese right there, stuff like that. So they were trying to hide. And here, not only is the Israeli government not like proud of what they're doing, but you have the population, like we're seeing at the crossings into Gaza, joining in on saying, no, we don't want any humanitarian aid to those people.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rania Kalik, and this is Dispatches. The collective West is so sure of its superiority, it doesn't seem to notice that it's in a state of decline. It's facing an obvious defeat in Ukraine, but is determined to continue fighting Russia to the last Ukrainian. It insists on antagonizing China in ridiculous ways, with U.S. members of Congress demanding Biden ban TikTok. Meanwhile, they have zero shame about the genocide in Gaza, even as it's making the world hate the U.S. and Israel, creating a kind of battle between the global North and global South, and laying bare the atrocious reality of the so-called rules-based order. Here to discuss this and more is Arnaud Bertrand, a commentator on economics and geopolitics based in Shanghai. But before we jump into it, this is just part of this episode. The full interview is available to Breakthrough News members only. You can become a member at patreon.com/Breakthrough News. And as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell so you get a notification whenever we post new content. And if you appreciate this show, you can also donate below on YouTube. Arnaud, welcome back to the show.
Thank you so much, Rania. I'm glad to be back.
It's really good to have you back on. And I mean, the last time we spoke, it was probably more than a year ago at this point. We've talked about Ukraine before. We've talked about China before. A lot of the same issues are taking place in the world, but we have this sort of added horrific genocide in Gaza that we're witnessing in the midst of everything else that's going down. So I think a good place to start would be, I saw you share this piece on Twitter. It was a really good piece. It's by Michael Brenner, the academic. It's called The West's Reckoning. And the subtitle is "The West has set itself on a path of collective suicide, both moral and economic." And he goes on and makes the point that, that the genocide in Gaza, combined with this sort of obvious Western defeat in Ukraine that the West refuses to really concede over, is contributing to the decline of Western hegemony. So before we get into some of the more detailed topics that we're going to talk about, I'm curious your comments on that sort of general theme of the defeat in Ukraine mixed with the just complete disastrous, horrific genocide in Gaza, contributing to this decline in Western hegemony that I think began even before that.
Yeah, so exactly. I think actually Ukraine and Gaza are the great revealers of things that were already the case, that started before. So with Ukraine, we can see that the West is actually much weaker militarily and economically than we thought. Militarily, because despite the entire on the wholesale support of the whole of NATO behind Ukraine, Russia is winning. They sent Ukraine so many weapons that they've depleted their own arsenals, and Russia is winning, which is quite stunning when you think about it. And economically, it shows that they're weak because they unleashed on Russia the most draconian set of sanctions ever unleashed on a single country. They even went as far as cutting them up from SWIFT and confiscating all their dollar reserves.
It's kind of one of the things that I say too about Putin. You don't have to
Russia...
like Putin. You certainly don't have to like or celebrate what Russia's done in Ukraine. But one thing that has happened is he's exposed, and Russia's kind of exposed the kind of paper tiger of the West. We claim that we could defend Ukraine militarily. We can't. We claim that we have all these economic powers to rein in international actors that we don't like. We don't. And this is like, if people still believed this before, they really don't believe it anymore, because all of these things have been totally put to the test over the last 2 years, and we have failed. The West, we've totally failed.
It's growing faster than any other economy in Europe, which again is incredible. So if that's not a display of weakness,
the way they've made themselves immune to sanctions is fairly incredible. Seriously, HTA, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, people are like, oh, Putin won this election, it's totally fraudulent or whatever. And maybe it is. Again, I'm not commenting on how legitimate Russian democracy is. But like you just, with what you just pointed out, they've made themselves immune to sanctions. We don't think there's people in Russia that are like, okay, this is our guy, you know? Like, we don't think that there's a legitimate reason that this guy might have a sort of sense of legitimacy or popularity in Russia for overseeing this. You know, I don't think it's that hard to imagine. And you don't have to like the guy to acknowledge that.
I don't know what it is. And then with Gaza, we can see that their values were just empty talk. That's what they said all along, that they were defending, like human rights, international law, and so on. They actually don't care about when it goes against their own interests. And if your values are conditional, those values don't exist. It means you have deeper unstated values on principles, which the war on Gaza revealed, which are imperialism, the importance of the West collectively remaining on top of the food chain, even if it means perpetrating genocide. To me, the deeper significance of Gaza, I've said this a lot on Twitter, is that it's fundamentally a fight between the rules-based order and international law. The rules-based order, basically Western supremacy, has been forced to reveal itself in an unprecedented way as running in opposition to international law, against humanitarian law, against the UN, against UNRWA, ready to defend the killing of journalists, the killing of humanitarian workers, the mass killing of civilians, and so forth. So it's masks of time. What's behind the mask is immensely repulsive to the immense majority of the planet, and I might add very repulsive even to many people within Western countries.
Yeah, it really is just, every day gets worse. It's every day you think you can't be shocked more than you already have been. And then the Israelis, the Americans, they do something even more horrific than what was already taking place. And we've now entered the 6 months of this horror in Gaza. And, you know, I think something interesting about what we're witnessing in Gaza, on top of just the absolute horror and just disturbing to watch Israeli society sort of like descend into this fascistic madness, is at the same time, you still, till now, have the U.S. political class defending every little thing the Israelis do. You've seen them, I know, because I see you tweet about it, these statements from these spokespeople for the State Department or the National Security Council, people like Matt Miller and John Kirby will get up on their podiums and defend or justify, the starvation of children, or, crazy genocidal statements by the Israelis, or the torture of UN workers, or the bombing of entire residential areas. I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? While at the same time, the U.S., and this is something we've discussed in the past, you and I, the U.S. political leaders have continued to accuse China of carrying out a genocide in Xinjiang, which seems even more laughable, like when you look at Gaza versus Xinjiang. If you just compare, this is what a genocide looks like. You can say what you want about maybe some of China's policies at some point in Xinjiang, but
if you bought into this whole Uyghur genocide thing, you got scammed. There's just no other way to
And the reason I raise that is because you now have this letter that you had actually shared, where U.S. members of Congress are urging Biden, it's a bipartisan push, to get Biden to prohibit American citizens from visiting Xinjiang to prevent what they call genocide tourism. So in the midst of this genocide in Gaza, an actual genocide, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this particular development. It just seems so, like, the audacity.
Kirby sobbing uncontrollably for Ukraine. It's just absolutely pathetic. It's so cynical. I will not be moved by the crocodile tears. This is why we like Norm Finkelstein, even with all his flaws and all his problems. We will not be moved by the crocodile tears. That's what it is.
To say genocide's happening in Xinjiang while actually carrying out one in Gaza is just mind-blowing to me. But please, go ahead.
Yeah, it is mind-blowing. I mean, with Gaza, we can see, like you said, what an actual genocide looks like in the age of social media, maybe for the first time, I think. So despite Israel's technological prowess and its complete subjugation of the Palestinians, there is no hiding it. We can see a daily stream of the most atrocious images and testimonies. And you also get, of course, which is a big characteristic of genocide, extremely dehumanizing rhetoric by the perpetrator. to justify their actions. So, statement like human animals on the likes. And you can now contrast this with Xinjiang, and it becomes immediately obvious just how bullshit, excuse my French, the narrative is. We've not seen not a single picture of atrocities coming from Xinjiang. Not one picture of a dead child, woman, or even man. The only one picture that keeps circulating is of Uyghur men sitting in a prison yard, as if that was indicative of genocide. Xinjiang has prisons like every single place on earth. If that was indicative of genocide, the term genocide would be absolutely meaningless. And most importantly, there is no dehumanizing rhetoric from Chinese leaders or Chinese people. In fact, the exact contrary. China responded to the accusations by literally celebrating Uyghur culture. You can just go check the Twitter account of any Chinese ambassador, and you will see an endless content showcasing Xinjiang, celebrating Uyghur culture, and so on. So when you contrast this with the declarations of Israeli officials with regard to Gazans, it is just, day and night. And to your point, Xinjiang, partly in reaction to the accusations, has become China's most popular touristic destination with a crazy, I think, 265 million tourists visiting last year, which in fact, I think that easily makes it one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world. So China has effectively adopted a policy of come and see with your own eyes if the Americans are lying on it.
That's such an insane number of people. And to try and suggest that this is some this place where this genocide is going on, where every single building, satellite image that you find is some concentration camp. 265 million people visited last year. That's fucking insane. So pathetic how people are so willing to be duped on Taiwan, Ukraine, Uyghurs, Israel. And honestly, Old Dutch, it is pathetic. I agree. But I really feel like this is a moment of heightening contradictions. And I think this is when it's our job to try and make people understand this. You see what our government is supporting here. Well, what if I tell you it's the same government that's saying you need to support Taiwan and Ukraine and every single other kind of, and all the rhetoric around Venezuela or Cuba or anything like that. This is the time I think that we can really put a dent into these sort of imperialist brainworms that people have, even people that are on the left, even people that have a kind of criticism of the state, even people that have progressive social values, but have been kind of pulled along into supporting what amounts to imperialist propaganda campaigns because they get their sense of social justice gets used against them. And I think this is the time that we can point that out to people. It's never been more clear, right? Why would we you can see our government's values on full display right now, and people still want to tell themselves that our government, they might be supporting genocide here, but they've got it right when it comes to Taiwan, they've got it right when it comes to Tibet, they've got it right when it comes to Venezuela or Cuba or Nicaragua, they got it right when it comes to Ukraine. It's just on this time they're supporting genocide. No, this is who they are. This is who the imperialists are. They've revealed themselves. And people can't still continue to be blind to that. What's the best source of info to debunk the Uyghur stuff? I mean, this is where it gets tricky because I think Gray Zone has done some of the best reporting on this. And this is the problem with Max Blumenthal and Gray Zone is that he's gone off in this completely other reactionary direction, the anti-vax stuff, allying with these libertarian people, the anti-LGBTQ plus stuff. And they've kind of delegitimized their own reporting when they've done actual good work on certain issues. I believe the Uyghurs themselves, and all the Uyghurs are far-right, Trump-loving Zionist expats. Well, that's what I would say when someone says, Rob, why don't you just listen to Uyghurs? Listen to what they say. And the thing is, there are Uyghurs that are going to go out there and talk about how they're victims of genocide and cruelty and authoritarianism. And they all seem to work for these NGO-funded think tanks or be associated with them. And they're all part of the global diaspora. When we actually are supposed to listen to the people that live in that region, then we don't want to hear from them. Then it's no, they're Chinese automaton bots or whatever, right? So it's who are the ones that we want to listen to? No doubt that there's going to be people from any kind of diasporic group that are going to tell a certain narrative, especially when it comes to these official state enemies. But when it comes to like the actual people that live in that region of all different ethnic groups, because as we know, it's not just Uyghurs and Han Chinese that live there. A lot of other ethnic minority groups as well. Like, do we want to listen to what they have to say? And again, you can go on TikTok, you can go on social media and YouTube and literally see these people just like living their lives. Like we've talked about before, many people in that region whose lives have been improved drastically over the last 10, 15 years through development, through massive investment into infrastructure and jobs and stuff like that. So it's like, ignore what the millions of people that live there say, and let's listen to this certain group of expats and these diasporic groups that are connected to all these shadowy think tanks. Listen to what they have to say, but ignore every single thing that anyone else that disagrees with that narrative has to say. And again, it's the map. You can debunk this, you can debunk that, you can look into different claims and talk about which claims might be true, and let's get to the bottom of this. You just look at the map of all the countries that support this Uyghur genocide narrative and the countries that don't. You want to take a guess at what the map looks like? Do I even have to tell you? You know already. It's all the Western, predominantly white, formerly colonialist countries that support this narrative, and the rest of the world, the global south, and everyone else does not buy it. You know? The international community. So it's not even just about this issue. On any issue when it comes to this kind of subject, look at what that map says. And if you find yourself on the side of the map with Canada, the United States, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, etc., and you're on the other side as like everyone else in the world, you fucked up. You know, I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean, though? You can debunk whatever. You can debunk individual claims. To me, the map is the most important piece of evidence. You just look at the map. Look at the map of the countries that support this narrative. It's always the same map. The same map of formerly colonial countries, countries that have committed genocide or still committing genocide. You know? Just look at the map. It's the answers. You'll find the answers right there. Big map guy. That's right. Everyone says this about me.
Xinjiang to check it out. There are literally zero restrictions. And China has even dropped the visa requirements for dozens of countries, like France, for instance. So you likely don't even need a visa to go there. And of course, all those tourists go there with their mobile phones, obviously, which makes the absence of atrocity pictures even more salient. And what does the US do? Ironically enough, those US lawmakers that you were mentioning wrote a letter to Blinken urging him to ban Americans from traveling to Xinjiang.
Jeffrey Sachs also has a piece on it as well, which is pretty good.
In order to, I quote, prevent Americans to conceal atrocity crimes. So by going to see what's happening with your own eyes, you conceal what's going on there. And in order not to conceal, you shouldn't look into it, into details. I mean, irony is well and truly dead. It's just ridiculous.
Meanwhile, people actually can't go to Gaza. There's journalists who'd like to go, but the Israelis don't let them in. They try to cut off the communications. And I think that's what's crucial here is like, yeah, go ahead.
Kill journalists.
Yes, they've killed over, they've killed like 150 journalists or something insane.
And their families.
Crazy. And they're
again, China's saying like, please come and explore and talk to people and see what's happening here. And then not only is Israel not letting in Western journalists or letting them in as long as they're being completely overseen by the IDF, they're murdering journalists in Gaza and their families. Can't stress enough. They're murdering journalists' families. And we're supposed to pretend that it's China doing the genocide and Israel is just defending itself. Like, insane.
Obviously intentionally targeting them. I mean, there's just no comparison in the sense of And then to be justifying that while still going with this crazy narrative is so insane. You mentioned France a few times, and so I want to pivot to France real quick. I mean, this is the country of your.
I mean, you say refuse to indulge people who have no actual interest in the answer they seem to prompt you to give. They just aren't worth wasting time on. I had a Destiny fan to me say that recently. Can you provide evidence? How about fuck off? I mean, just to give you an example of how absurd it is, you have Destiny in that fucking debate where he got absolutely annihilated, literally saying they could nuke Gaza and kill 2 million people and I wouldn't consider it genocide. And then in like this, at the same time, he's someone who believes in and promotes the idea of a Uyghur genocide. So bombing Gaza, you know, everything that Israel's been doing over the last 6 months, even beyond that, nuking Gaza, killing 2 million people, not a genocide according to this guy. And what China's doing in Xinjiang, genocide, according to these people. It just makes it abundantly clear how totally farcical it is.
This is where you grew up, you're French. So you know the political system there well. So let's start with the French government. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah, no. We forgive you. We forgive you. But you know, when it comes to the issue of Gaza, where does the French government stand with regard to Israel's genocide in Gaza? I know it, full-heartedly supported everything Israel did after October 7th. Then at some point, I think France did start saying, at least rhetorically, they wanted a ceasefire. But I imagine this is, I guess let's start with this. What's French government policy towards Gaza? And then I'd love for you to kind of break down perhaps how this issue is breaking down inside France politically, because any issue that has to do with the Middle East or North Africa, particularly when it comes to like Islam or Islamic groups, tends to have a very polarizing impact in France.
Yeah, so, I mean, France historically had a policy of being very close to Arabic countries in its foreign policy since de Gaulle. As a Lebanese yourself, you probably know this all too well. Remember how close Chirac was to the Hariri family, for instance. Mm-hmm. He even spent his final years living in a Hariri family apartment in Paris. It looked corrupt as hell, but that's besides the point. And France was historically the one Western country most ready to defend the Palestinian cause. It's no coincidence that one of the main streets in Ramallah is named after Chirac, and there is a Charles de Gaulle street in Gaza. But since then, with Sarkozy, Hollande, now especially Macron, there has been a divorce between France
Alexander,
and
literally
Arab world.
one photo.
France, as far as its
one
foreign
photo
is concerned, has largely become a line behind the US.
Of a bunch of prisoners. Or are there prisoners? Is there another country that has groups of prisoners, predominantly or disproportionately black and brown and indigenous people? Yeah, I think there are. The idea, look, we found one picture that justifies this entire narrative. A narrative which was, again, not just talking about the map, a narrative which was promoted by Mike Pompeo, the former head of the CIA. That's not enough for people. This is what I don't get. It's like, you're saying this whole narrative is like a CIA op. What are you, some kind of tanky conspiracy theorist, tinfoil hat? It's literally the former head of the CIA saying, there's a genocide going on. China's genocidal. China's doing a genocide. It's not some conspiracy theory. It's not like an Alex Jones tinfoil hat deep state conspiracy theory. It's literally the former head of the CIA saying this and promoting this narrative. Yeah, and using evidence from like U.S. government-backed media organizations like RFA, like Adrian Zen's, the Victims of Communism Foundation, the ASPI, the Australian think tank funded by the U.S. arms manufacturing industry. This is where the evidence comes from for this so-called genocide. And people still think they call you some kind of like conspiracy theorist or genocide denier for asking questions about this. At the same time, our government, who makes these claims, is supporting an actual genocide. And people can't put two and two together. You know what I mean? Really? You're still having a hard time putting two and two together here? Like, come on. We got to be better than this.
Of the empire, basically. That was particularly clear during the war on Gaza. For instance, Macron has led not one but two national
Me too, Spaceman. I hope it gets. I hope it does not get vandalized. That monument.
Some members of his governments have been just utterly insane.
I think it would be a damn shame if that Victims of Communism monument, if they ever actually do like unveil this thing in Ottawa, if they had to, I do not want this, I don't support it, and I don't agree with it, and I would be disgusted if they had to continually just close down that monument because it just wouldn't stop being vandalized by people. I think that would be a huge shame and a real waste of taxpayer funds to have to always, be dealing with constant vandalism at the monument, and I hope it doesn't happen.
So, for instance, Aurore Berger, who is the French Minister for the Fight Against Discriminations, literally announced that she will stop funding all French feminist organizations that do not promote Israel's understanding of October 7th and what happened afterwards. So you had the Minister Against Discriminations openly discriminating, which is kind of insane. And it comes in a context where, as you said, French society is very polarized, with the majority of the population moving to the right, even to the extreme right.
Yes, there's another Nazi memorial going up. It's called the Victims of Communism Memorial.
People like Le Pen or Éric Zemmour. And of course, you still have a minority on the left with Mélenchon, who has about 20% of the votes, but the center is largely gone. And of course, as we are seeing almost everywhere, when you're an Islamophobe, you tend to align with Israel. So I think the majority of the French population.
I'd love to get to the point where we can tease out contradictions, but they're monumental as things are, and people still can't see them. It is pretty amazing, isn't it? And this is exactly why I've tried to reject anyone that's doing this kind of, using this kind of left-wing language to promote these kinds of narratives. When they talk about like decolonization, they talk about Palestine, they talk about indigenous people in Canada or the United States, and then they try to link that to these narratives about China. This is, I think we got to totally reject that. And a lot of these people, again, working for or alongside think tanks and like groups that are funded by like places like the NED or the, all the various ways that this kind of infrastructure is kind of propagated to promote these narratives. Because I think that gets tricky for people when people play on their real sense of morality and people understand the way that we've committed genocide against indigenous peoples and the way that we're supporting a genocide against Palestinians right now. And people play on that and they try and take that kind of sympathy and translate it into these like narratives, which again are being promoted by the CIA, the CIA and these sort of like NGO complex around the world. It's really, that's one thing that we got to totally reject. And even, you know what? Even if it makes you seem a little bit insensitive sometimes, I think we got to reject that.
I don't know. Well, maybe not the majority, but
the NAFO freaks being some ethnic group experts for the official enemy countries
does align with Israel. I think that Macron is basically
the Muslim supporters have logged on.
Not a statesman signing with the public opinion in order to try to steal votes from the extreme right. But at the same time, it means that he's playing into their hands by effectively legitimizing their platform.
I mean, it's preposterous, folks. I'm sorry to keep harping on this, but it's the same people, right, that are like, they simultaneously talk about Israel like it's this colonial outpost, this garden in the jungle, defending the West, defending Europe and the West and America and Canada and all our precious Western values from these swarthy hordes of Arabs and Muslims, right? They talk about Israel like that. And then all of a sudden, the same people, they talk about China and they're like, oh, we're so concerned about Muslim human rights in China. Oh, we're so concerned. We're so concerned about this cultural genocide that's happening. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? These people. And that's why you have to reject this argument, because it's like, obviously, look at the people that are promoting it. They don't care about Muslim lives or Muslim human rights. It's a narrative that's there to destabilize China and for purely political and economic reasons, nothing whatsoever to do with human rights or protecting a certain ethnic group or anything like that. Absolutely nothing whatsoever. And if you know anything about our history, of the West and colonialism and neocolonialism, if you really think that the people of that region, the Uyghurs or whatever other ethnic group in Xinjiang, if you think they're going to be better off as a Western-backed ethno-state, because that's what the argument is, right? It's not like, oh, they're going to be sovereign or not sovereign. They're going to be dominated by authoritarian China, or they're going to be sovereign and free and democratic. No, they're going to be part of China, or if they manage to like successfully implement this, and I don't think they will, but this is what the goal has been, they're going to be a Western-backed ethno-state. Do we really think that the people anyone that lives there is going to be better off like that? Let's just take a short look at the history of any of these Western-backed ethno-states and take a look at how that's gone. You know? Like, please.
Well, I mean, in that sense, I'm curious if you could talk.
We deeply care about Muslim human rights. Also, all Palestinians should be liquidated. That's right. And that's why I also reject these people that are like pro-Palestinian and pro-indigenous trying to like do the pro-Uyghur thing as well. Because it's like, why are you allying with the Zionists? Why are you allying with the imperialists who are doing genocide in Palestine? It makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense. Nor does it make sense, in my opinion. It does maybe from like an anti-war perspective, nor does it make sense to support Palestine and Ukraine, right? It doesn't. It makes no sense. Because on the one hand, you're supporting Palestine, victims of our empire, and then you have Ukraine being supported entirely by our empire, and you think that there's like no contradiction there. You know? We think it's this big moral imperative to arm and fund Ukraine. Meanwhile, the very same governments are arming and funding Israel while they're doing this genocide. It's incoherent because you're lining up alongside empire on one case and lining up against empire in another case. It's completely incoherent.
Bit about, because I know this is what's happening in the US a lot. It's happening in Germany to an insane degree. But there is this way of course, using anti-Semitism as a weapon to really suppress dissent. So I'm curious if that's also playing out in France. I'm sure you've been seeing it the way it has in the US across college campuses, for example. And of course, the way Congress has jumped in to try to essentially shut down criticism of Israel as just being automatically based in like Jew hatred.
Yeah, so I mean, the big debate these days in France is with Mélenchon's party, La France Insoumise, which is now the one big party on the left. They're very staunch defenders of Gaza against genocide. I mean, most of their elected officials are daily on Twitter, like defending, international law, the rights of the Palestinians, and so on. And those people are absolutely, accused all the time of being anti-Semitic by many French media, politicians on the other side of the political spectrum. So it is the one tool that they always use. If you don't align with Israeli politics, you're an anti-Semite. But yeah, of course they aren't.
Yeah. And I wanted to also move to the issue of Ukraine, because Macron has been getting a lot of attention over the last month for saying something so insane, suggesting something so insane that even other European countries were like, wait, what? He wanted to send French troops to Ukraine. What's behind? I mean, and also France has kind of flip-flopped a bit on the issue of Ukraine. It kind of, it's taken a harder U.S. sort of tone, and then it'll sort of walk it back, and then it'll come back to the harsh tone. But this seems pretty extreme, the idea of actually sending French troops. So could you explain, what's behind the idea of sending French troops? And has Macron gone completely mad? I mean, does France really think that it should be involving itself militarily in that kind of direct way in a confrontation with Russia?
Yeah,
that would be insane.
It's very hard to understand what was behind it. I mean, one context is the elections in the EU right now, with Macron's party obviously being a major candidate there. So I think there is some politicking, him trying to, basically show that he's tough on Russia in order to get elected because he thinks that will play well with the public. I think there is also some sort of power struggle within Europe in order to. I think that they somehow predict that Trump will get elected and will be relatively isolationist. I mean, Trump has several times said that the U.S. should stop funding NATO and should stop protecting Europe and so on and so forth. So there is some sort of power struggle in Europe for if that happens, who's going to take the mantle and represent Europe and so on. And there is a big I think, struggle between France and Germany. They've really positioned themselves on both sides here with that, with France very clearly saying they will send troops to NATO troops to Ukraine, and then Scholz publicly, which is very rare to see such a public battle between France and Germany. Scholz publicly saying, no, basically that's crazy. We're never going to do that. And then you have some
trying to look tough with
European
Sahel
countries.
slipping out of French grasp. On that note as well, I mean, we talked a lot about Niger this summer, and Niger over the last week or so they're trying to officially end entirely their relationship with the U.S. They want all U.S. troops out, and it's home to one of their largest, if not the largest, I would have to check, drone base in Africa. Yeah, Okinawa next. That's what you actually listen to the people in Okinawa. They would love that, but so far we still have these governments that are completely. I mean, they're militarily occupied still.
Particularly like the
Hit the
Baltics
bricks,
and
Uncle
some
Sam.
of the more extremely hostile to the countries most.
We are not an empire, said the head of
Siding with
AFRICOM.
France,
Yeah,
some siding with
fucking-
Germany and so on. So although it's difficult to see exactly the reasoning there, I suspect that that's part of the equation. But it's a very, very dangerous game, of course, because you need to think through the consequences there. So if NATO sends troops to Ukraine, maybe then Russia is going to ask countries from its side of the ledger to send troops as well. Why wouldn't they, right? That's kind of fair. And then maybe other fronts are going to get opened, and then you have the nuclear question. There's never been, for very good reasons, there's never been a confrontation between the Warsaw Pact at the time of the Soviet Union and NATO directly, because the risk of nuclear weapons being used is way too important, and then it means the death of everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a very, very dangerous game Macron's playing there.
Yeah, and I think when we talk about the war in Ukraine, I think there's a trend that became more apparent during the war in Ukraine, and that was the split we saw between the way the global North was behaving about Ukraine, or as they like to call themselves, the collective West, and then the way the global South was behaving about Ukraine, mostly taking either like a neutral position or in some cases a very anti-NATO position. When it came to the global South, you would see this in the vote tallies at the UN, where it would be like this handful of Western countries, all of the European countries, the US, Australia, Japan on one side, supporting Ukraine wholeheartedly, and then on the other side, the rest of the world, which apparently doesn't really matter, but like Africa, Latin America, Asia. I mean, of course there's nuances there, but for the most part, we started to kind of see this dividing line. And I think, at least from my vantage point, that line has become more clear when it comes to Gaza. And, we can just look at what South Africa did, right? It took the lead with filing this case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. And then we see other global South countries have filed cases against Israel, like Nicaragua. This, genocide is essentially the Europeans and the Americans on one side versus the world, give or take a few countries. So I think in many ways, Gaza has become this very explicit fight, battle, whatever you want to call it, at least legally and rhetorically speaking, of the global North versus the global South. I'm curious if you would agree with that framing. And if yes, do you see this as a significant as something significant and part of this bigger pattern that I mentioned that we were already seeing take hold in the midst of the war with Ukraine, as well as the Cold War with China, because we've also seen that same line when it comes to America versus China?
I largely agree with the framing, although it's important to note that some Western countries like Ireland, Belgium, or Spain have been quite clearly denouncing what Israel is doing, supporting international law. And that conversely, some major global South countries like India have been pretty clearly behind Israel because of the Islamophobia that's unfortunately at the heart of Modi's platform. So like I said before, I prefer to frame it in terms of rules-based order versus international law, because then it also gives the option to some Western countries to come to the side of the light, to borrow in the other direction a sentence from Netanyahu, because he said his side was the side of the light. And if you say it's global north versus global south, your global north, your global south, you can't do anything to change your geography. It entrenches the divide and gives no room for evolution. What we want at the end of the day is no divide, right? We want everyone to be on the side of the light, on the side of international law, on the side of morality. So I think it's important
From the press, U.S. Special Forces are training Taiwanese soldiers on Kinmen Islands, just 10 kilometers from mainland China. As I've said a number of times, I think if you're one of these people around the world that you think you're going to benefit from becoming a American client state, if you're like a Taiwanese nationalist and you're interested in going along with these Western plans, I would just look at Ukraine, look at the West's total inability to protect Ukraine despite all our promises, look at what's happened to Ukraine, and really ask yourselves, is this what we're agreeing to? Should we maybe pump the brakes on this? Should we maybe reevaluate this? That's what's going to happen. Like Mearsheimer and others warned for months prior to Ukraine actually being invaded. If we keep doing this, Ukraine's going to get wrecked. And we can say the same thing. Am I going to get wrecked? You should ask yourself that question. And like I spoke about with Vijay Prashad the other day, it's like Russia said over and over and over again, this is a red line for us. Stop fucking around in Ukraine. This is a red line. We're going to have to respond eventually. And what did we do? We just kept fucking around repeatedly. And lo and behold, it led to a response. And it's been an absolute disaster. And China says the same thing. Do not fuck around with Taiwan. It's a red line. It's a red line for us. And what are we doing? Continuing to fuck around. And I don't know what we expect to happen. And I know everyone in this community is smart enough, but if this does come, if the day does come when that starts to escalate, we're going to get the same propaganda blitz, just like we got with these other incidents. And we're going to need to activate our immunity to propaganda receptors. Because we're going to have to be able to see through all this bullshit right away. But we've been training ourselves on this now for years. So I trust the people in this community to be able to stand strong when that day does come. And it probably will come. I know China would prefer a peaceful reunification with Taiwan, but I don't know if that's on the agenda. I don't know if we're going to allow that. Well, irate lump, even if Ukraine somehow wins, the neoliberalization of their economy via privatization and IMF strings attached loans, they're fucked either way. They can't win. They've lost that part of the country. Crimea, Eastern Ukraine, it's gone and it's not ever going to come back now. But that's it. Even if they just end up like that, the rest of Ukraine is going to be completely decimated by these economic policies. Like I've talked about a number of times, the choice is not between autocracy and freedom or democracy, or sovereignty. Western Ukraine is not going to be sovereign. U.S.-backed Taiwan is not going to be sovereign, just like Germany is not sovereign, just like France is not sovereign, or Canada is not sovereign. They're going to be completely decimated by Western economic policies, and they're going to be destabilized and used as pawns or proxies to fight our geopolitical enemies. Yeah, or South Korea is not sovereign. Absolutely.
Give that room on frame things with the right languages in order to move towards not a necessary confrontation between even though it's there, I agree, to a large extent, between the global south and the global north, but provides room for evolution in the future.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to leave it, actually. I don't want to watch this whole interview. There's about another 20 minutes left in this interview, but I really encourage everyone else to watch it and give it a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to Breakthrough News content because it's really fantastic. Yeah. I think that'll do it. It prompted a lot of interesting and important discussion, I think. I'm tired from talking. I wasn't intending on talking this much today. I'm still a little bit sick, so I think I should say goodbye pretty soon. I'm 5 measly subs away from the goal, folks. 5 subs away from the goal. So if there's 5 brave heroes that want to support this program, I'm sick and I'm tired and old and fucked up. And I'm here trying to deliver informative and educational and entertaining content for you all. So if you can, please subscribe to TRRS. We got 5 more subs. Help me get across the finish line. Go have some tea and a nap. Well, I should do that. I do have to go and pick up my kid from school, but then I'll have the rest of the evening. So I may just do that. And I stream for fucking children. That's right. That's right.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
It's a Twitch baby.
Nom de net. Thanks for the 9 months. Tier 1. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. I have a hard time taking naps. I tried to take a nap yesterday. And I only slept I was really tired. And I only slept about 30 minutes. I can't take extensive naps. Especially right now, I'm kind of congested, so it's hard to breathe as much. And I wake myself up. Nomdinet, thank you very much for that. We got 4 more subs to go, folks. Just take cold medicine and pass out. I mean, that's a good idea. I do have more podcasting to do later. I'm still not finished in the content mines. It's another long day in the content mines for me over here. Are there 4 brave heroes in chat? This is the question. This is the question, folks. 4 measly subs away from the goal. Who else wants to support TRRS? I know we can do it. This is in grasp. This is in reach. Dr. Maggot, do those actually work? I probably need that.
You can count on me. You're
Oh
going to
my
have good
goodness.
old Rob
Anon.
to talk you through all this.
Content mine's turning a big dial that says gooning and looking to the audience like a
Count on me.
contestant on The
You're
Price
going
is
to have good
Right.
old Rob to talk you through all this.
Anon, thank you so much for the 5 gifted subs. That's very, very, very kind of you. Thank you.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to
talk you through all this.
You can count
on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
You can
Count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this. Christ-like Anon comes in at the buzzer. The most Christ-like of all sub-gifters. It's true. It's very true. Anon has cured me. Not quite, but... It's funny, the VJ thing, I saw a couple of people online being like, oh, that was rude. pretty rude to do to a guest. Someone was like, Rob did VJ dirty. It's like, okay, first of all, it was funny. Second of all, he's my friend. We've had multiple long conversations, and I always ask him about silly stuff. And it was funny. I'm sorry. You all laughed. It's funny to ask a prominent academic and historian and author about gooning. Like, that's just objectively funny. Like, I don't know what you want me to tell you. You know? His answer was very uplifting. It's true. Absolutely. I love that guy. Anyway, I don't think he had too much of a problem with it. And I thought it was very funny. Okay. What am I doing here? Thank you again for tuning into the program, folks. I very much appreciate everyone that tunes in and supports this show. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will be back tomorrow. Okay? Regular time. I'll be back tomorrow. We'll have some more fun conversations. Maybe I'll try to rustle up a guest for this week. I don't know. Who knows? But thank you again, folks. Give my regards to our friend David Tovarish. We got 168 viewers ready to go. I'm tired, and I'm tired of talking, so I'm going to click the button now. Thanks again, folks. I'll talk to you tomorrow.